right, guys, here we go. I've taken a bunch of something called emergency. Been laying down most of the day, trying to get some rest. But I think I'm ready to go today. We're gonna try things differently today, so we're half an hour early. We'll see if we end up doing that. I also have some updates. One, I got a new mouse, so I could scroll better. Finally, very very excited about that. Two, there's a bunch of changes with the channel here that we're going to be making. So let me just pop over to it. We're adding chapters both on YouTube and X. So after the video on X and after the video on YouTube, I'll be posting to both. I'll probably have to put it in the comments section under X. I don't really know how the flow is going to work there yet. I'll have to figure it out. I'm in the process of updating my portfolio. I'm almost done with that. And then I'm going to be adding additional channels and charts to Discord as well today. You'll have those before tomorrow morning. And then I'm going to be taking portions of the stream, of the live stream that we do, both in the market open and in the recap. And I'll be breaking those down into separate Bitcoin, Tesla, and maybe other key topic videos. I'm going to see if I can have admin wife helping with that. I'll also be creating standalone videos. Oh, no, I already said that. And I found a good GPN or VPN from a friend here that would let me know that I was exposing my IP address every time I was disconnecting from TradingView. So I've got a new VPN, Surfshark, not sponsored. In the future, if they would allow that, I would probably take it up because I'm never going to do ads again. But I do like the product. It's really, really fast for a VPN, and I'm not having any connectivity issues yet, and I love that. So that's very cool. Also, I'm going to be looking at comments after each one of these. So I'm checking comments right now. And so after each section, we're going to try and structure this a little bit differently. And I might switch things around later on. But I'll be looking at comments after each topic that we finish talking about. And I would ask, too, that topics that we're talking about, like if each one of these sections, especially if we get our flow, if you could kind of try and keep some of the conversation geared towards those, that would be wonderful. If not, whatever. You can't keep Silas on topic, right? Just kidding, Silas. Kind of. But he's going to interject whatever his thought is. And a bunch of you guys that way, and that's fine. You know, that's kind of how it works. But it's more sifting through with the comments to try and figure out if I should be, repeating something or talking about a topic. So it's really helpful if it stays on topic. Anyway, so here's what we're going to be talking about today. And this is probably going to be the flow for a while. Again, might move some things around, but we're going to talk about U.S. indices plus the heat map plus the watch list. We'll look at those real quick. Again, market has not closed. We've got about 20 minutes until that happens, but we'll take a glance at those and see where we're at. We'll look at the fear and greed indexes and talk about those. We'll look at earnings related news. Tomorrow is going to be Tesla. I'm very excited about that. I will be doing that earnings call, so definitely join me there if you would like. And then we'll start a little bit early, and again, we'll be talking about all topics Tesla and kind of my thoughts heading into earnings. And then again, we can chat about whatever you guys want to talk about. Then we'll jump into the earnings call. On top of that, we're going to be going into commodities and currencies here in a little bit. We'll talk about economic data. That'll include Mexico, Canada, and the USA. We'll be talking about the bond markets. I think the 10-year might be topping. We'll talk about why I think that is. TLT, I think that might be bottoming. We'll talk about why that is. U.S. economic news, we'll be going over that. Bitcoin and crypto-related items, AI, energy, stocks we follow. China, emerging markets, geopolitics, election news, and then chart requests. And I'm probably going to have maybe 1 or 2 streams a week where I do chart requests. This sounds like a lot, but I think in the way we're going to be going through it, it'll be really quick. I love my new mouse so much. Alexander Doe. All right, I'm going to read comments real quick before we move on. Alexander Doe, hey, Jesse. And you know what? While I do that, while I'm reading these comments, I'm actually just going to pop over here and we'll pull up a stock heat map index and just kind of get a view of a lay of the land. Wow, Microsoft up a lot more than I would have anticipated today. That's very cool. But Alexander Doe says, hey, Jesse, I'm down about 20K on 11 leaps for Tesla December 2025, 300 calls. Could you maybe go over some strategies and your outlook on Tesla for those of us who are heavy bag holders? Yes, I will. I've got like almost $1 million, I think, in Tesla right now, and I'm looking to add more if they fall into earnings. I do believe Tesla can drop to 200. I've showed that chart a few times. We'll look at it again a little bit later. And if you can't stick around for, the hour and a half, whatever this video is, again, I'll try and break this down into separate videos that cover the topics. But yeah, so I think Tesla's going to do well. I think earnings could be a little choppy. We'll talk about that a little bit later. People are hoping that I feel better. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Rambler says, what's the best country you've ever been to outside of the United States? That's tough, man. I've had some cool experiences in different countries. France was interesting in its own unique way, but also kind of dirty and a mess. It's probably only worse now. Germany, I really loved Germany, but we were there for Oktoberfest in Munich. Munich was really cool. Again, just an interesting culture. I like the beer garden thing. I like the like local zones where people go and hang out and eat every night and talk to the we. And that kind of happens in France too. So I love the culture there. But I also have a fondness for Panama because that's where my wife is from, and that was the first time I'd really ventured outside of the United States. And I got to see like razor wire around people's houses, and it was just a really quite crazy environment. But it let me know that people live very differently than us in the United States. So I have a fondness for that too, and probably always will. Plus, my father-in-law, who passed away a while ago, he loved Panama. That was like where his life really began. So I'm very fond towards it for that reason too. All right, let me keep going. Pahuxi says, get better soon. I actually already feel, I've had 2 things of emergency today. I feel very hopped up on vitamin C, and I'm feeling pretty good right now. We'll see if I crash later. Disease Kodak, yo, early looking for group. What's up, man? Jeff L, hey, Jesse, hope you get better soon. Oh my God, my mouse works so much better. It's so easy to go through this. Rambler trying to talk to Schwab and be a level 1 to be a level 0. Oh, just for your options contracts that you were looking at trading. Okay, cool. Pahusaxi, looking good. Looking forward to some Tesla and Clean Spark. Yep. Dudlow 11, thanks for coming on, Jesse. Sergey says, hey. Tautalus from X says, hey, everybody. Dennis Nuber says, lol, Silas was saying crazy stuff. Oh, here's Silas. Now I cannot hack Jesse's computer anymore to mess up his mouse settings. You were the one. Marty McFly, a bit sick, but gotta watch this. Yeah, dude, being sick sucks. I'm sorry, bro. Rambler, is commodities related to the consumer price index? Not exactly sure what you mean there, but we will be talking a lot about commodities and economic data in a little bit, so we could probably cover it in there. Alfredo Hernandez, I'm on time. Yeah, I might start earlier. I might start at 2:30, guys. I just want to get done earlier in the day and enjoy life. So we'll see how it works. I got to see. We're gonna constantly be iterating and changing things. Alfredo Hernandez, JD Vance went on Theo Von. Oh, he went on Theo Von? Oh, no, dude, I didn't. But that's totally on my watch list. Ball, Jacques Paul, UK is a mess now. Yeah. I actually have never been to Britain. I so wanted to. I'll probably still do it, but maybe try and stay away from the ghetto parts. So if you're from the UK, you're going to have to give me advice, guys. Dudlow 11, are you able to just put in bookmarks in the video rather than breaking it up to different? That might be a way to do it too. I'm definitely doing the chapters and the bookmarks. Those will appear on X and on YouTube going forward in all of my videos. And that might be all it'll be. But if my wife can separate and create some separate videos too, also just ones that might get additional attention and help the channel out with growth, we'll do that too. But that'll probably be less me and more her. But yeah, definitely doing chapters. Chapter bookmarks, hell yeah. We got to make it easier for you guys. That way you don't have to watch. If you come in late, you don't have to watch the whole thing. You can be like, oh, Jesse's droning on about this. Oh, wait, nope, this is really valuable. I want to see this. I want to save you guys time. No better way to start that process than with chapters. Batui1 says Celsius. That's awesome. We can look at that later. Again, charts are at the very end. Dennis Nuber, I was at Oktoberfest this year, had a great time. It's really pretty wild. It's like the biggest county fair you could ever go to, and there's tents with thousands of people drinking beer, and there's a whole bunch of them. But it's got just crazy rides. It's pretty wild. Definitely a lot of people get drunk there, and I'm super impressed by the women that can lift like 20 steins of beer all at once. These girls are tough, yo. They're very tough. Sergio, you have to go to Portugal. I've never been. I'd like to go there too. There's a lot of places. Traveling is definitely going to be a huge part of my life. That's one thing. Caleb Franzen on X, he for a while there, I don't know if he's still doing it. I haven't paid too much attention. I've just been too busy. But he was traveling to all these different countries across Europe, across like the Middle Eastern areas, just everywhere. I envy him for that. He's very young and he's experiencing some cool stuff. I want to do more travel. All right, I think we're going to step away for a little bit. Disease Kodak said we got to do Latin America meetup after the bull market. I'd love that. I'd love to bring you guys to Panama, man. Panama is like, it's a cheap place, but it's also kind of beautiful, and I've got family there that can guide us. And we rented one Airbnb that was pretty sick for a cheap price. We could probably rent a few of them. It could be a good time. Go to India with me and family next year. That sounds good too, Shale. You guys, I'll take all those things. Okay. All right, so real quickly, so we're on to the section where we talk about U.S. indices, heat maps, and watch list. Okay, so this looks pretty good. Just at a glance, you can see how a number of stocks came back, like Tesla only down 0.4%, Nvidia not sitting bad at all, Microsoft up a lot today. I don't even know what the news was. If you guys have any idea, that would be great. Consumer non-durables, PM, don't even know what that is. That went up a ton. Qualcomm's up. CEO just spoke on CNBC yesterday. Again, not too crazy, not looking too bad. Nice little bounce, I think, that occurred. Now, since we're going through indices, let's do all of this, and we'll jump into the watch list too. Not a bad day. Again, the S&P, if this is the worst we have to deal with, this is going to be really good because, again, the fear and greed indexes, they're kind of bottoming out. So they're getting better all the time. They're getting better because time kind of chops them down and makes them a little less extreme. And we can look at that. Let's just take a glance real quick now. Again, this timeline here, we're right about the level we were at in September 27th. So a month ago, and we've just been chopping around in this range, and we're not in extreme greed. We're just kind of in greed, but we're hanging out. We can spend very long time frames here, guys. If you look over here, December of 2023, really in greed territory. November of 2023, we didn't exit greed until April. November to April. Just think about that. That's a half a year where we were in greed territory. And right now, people are really concerned about it because we've been here for 6 weeks. 6 months, 6 weeks. Very different numbers. So anyway, and that's, again, across a lot of it. If you look over here, last week, greed 65 for the crypto sector. Last month was neutral. So we haven't even we've been less in the greed territory for crypto than this other stuff. So again, it's just very fascinating to look at. Not my IP address. All right, so again, the S&P up 0.07%. Don't hate it. Let's look over here. NASDAQ up 0.1. I feel like I said dick there, but I meant DAC. I'm going to have to work on that pronunciation. Got to work on that. NASDAQ up 0.2%, leading today, beating the S&P. Love it. Let's look at the Russell. The Russell down 0.28%. Again, it kind of got beat up a little bit. It's going to be the laggard until it's not. It can definitely outperform. It was doing that for a day or two. So we could see more of that in the near future. We'll see where they all close, but I don't hate it. And again, so the watch list. Let's go to the watch list. I'll save this real quick. Already on it. So we'll just look over here. So today, DLO up 3.57%. Flux up 1.9%. Microsoft up. Silver up. Silver, record-breaking numbers in front of us. We'll talk about some of that in a little bit. SoFi up almost 2%. Hood up almost 2%. Love that for the Hood play, guys. Again, those options. I don't know where we ended up today in my Ally account. Let me look here. I think I'm almost going to be flat on the day. It's not even really going to be much of a loss, which is crazy considering the way the day started off. I'm probably down 30 grand today across everything. Yeah, 30 grand across everything. And Robinhood is only about 100,000. Oh, no, wait, that's gain. Let me see. How much do I have in that one? 157,000. So I guess I could show it over here. Just pop it over here for now. But again, 157,000 on Robinhood. I'm not hating that. Up 143%. Who knows? Maybe Robinhood is where I make all my money for that dip buying coming up ahead. But I don't want to sell too much Robinhood because I think it's going to do really well. Worse problems to have, I got to say. Solana today, outperforming Bitcoin. Very, very interesting that that's happening. Again, Cypher was up, Riot was up, Meta's up, Gold, GLD, Say, a bunch of crypto-related stuff, Mara. Really a pretty good day. Palantir up 0.54%. This is not a bad day, guys. Who are the biggest losers? Let's just go down and check that out. Oh, I love the scrolls so much. $100 mouse, well worth it. Well worth it. Specifically, well, except for, I got to refine it a little bit. But Iron and Energy down 4.31% and CleanSpark down 4%. Now, these were doing really well. They're getting beat up today. Rotation always happens. Again, ETH was doing all right, got really smacked today, and now Solana's outperforming. I think Solana's going to outperform a lot. But very interesting stuff. Let me look here real quick. So let me just get back over here. So U.S. indices, heat maps, watch list done. We looked at the fear and greed index. We covered that. Earnings news. Let's talk about earnings news. So tomorrow, again, I'll be hosting the Tesla one. We got some stuff coming out today. I don't know how Enphase turned out. Let me see if we got the earnings related stuff on here yet. I don't know. Let me see here. What do we have for quarters? Might not be updated yet. Might not be high priority. Q2, nope, probably not in there yet. That's fine. But I wanted to remind you guys of this. So earnings growth expected over the quarters ahead is really, really high. And performance so far, we're like 75% up versus down, depending on how you're weighing it, but not looking bad on earnings. And then I want to play a video here that says earnings, expectations for earnings and economics are way too low. This is from Ritholtz Kelly Cox, and it's about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. We'll listen to her. I'll throw in my 2 cents.
Our next guest says to believe in the bull market because the biggest and most expensive risk is to miss a rebound and eventually rally higher. Joining us now is Ritholtz Wealth Management Chief Market Strategist Callie Cox. Welcome back. Nice to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So what gives you confidence to essentially say buy the dip or stay long?
Well, market's all about expectations, and expectations are way too low right now on the earnings side and especially on the economic side. And I'm not saying the economy is in a solid state at the moment, but it's okay enough. And I think that's enough.
Okay enough. Earning expectations are too low.
Enough to push prices higher.
And where do you think leadership comes from?
I think leadership comes from rate-sensitive sectors. So right now we are seeing cyclical.
I do think we'll get there. I don't think that's happening out of the gate. And Disease Codex said he'd come to Panama. Awesome. We got to do it. And then Disease Codex said if we go to India, we need Amit to come. Oh, hell yeah. That's totally happening.
Bulls pick up.
The next time, we got to figure out when his next trip is and see if we can tag along.
And that's what you would expect with.
Can you imagine? I don't know if he's going to want that. We'll have to make sure. Oh,
the economy hurdling expectations. I'm encouraged by that. Of course, I want the economy to be doing well, but I think over time you need to be rotating into these consumer staples, dividend stocks, the stocks that have been left behind in this bull market.
Do you guys have a year-end view on where the 10-year should be? Some say 4.5 would make more sense than 4.20.
I think that's right. I think that's where we're going to end up. I think we're topping right now, actually. I'll show you guys that in a little bit.
I think 4 is a little high, so we don't have a formal year-end.
And she could be right, too. I actually do think, I think we're going to top maybe now on the 10-year, which I don't know how popular of a theory that is, but that's my thesis. And I think we could fall into the end of the year and end up lower. So let's see what she has to say from here.
Target for anything, frankly. But, seeing the 10-year yield at 4, of course, you're assuming 2% inflation, and that leaves a 2% gap to be accounted for. We think that that's way too high, and we're actually telling clients right now to lock in rates while you can.
So you guys are more defensive.
I agree with that. And here's the thing. I actually feel like I don't know if you have to lock in rates yet, right? I think it can be a bit. And so, sorry about your 3 more days on suspension. We'll be happy to see you back on X here soon. Mitt looked out of place in India. I know. He's like the whitest Indian there. He's just very American, right? He's very American. I don't know how much time he spent in India, but I've got a few friends that are like that, where they're like one of my friends, their daughter, who's like 8 or 9, when she goes to India, she's like, this is flipping crazy. It's like she's been here her whole life. And so it's really different, to be a part of that. And you're not necessarily super comfortable. It's not like, it doesn't feel exactly like home. I totally believe that. But let's keep listening here.
You don't expect, because the story has been that growth has outshined expectation. Things are better. Yields are higher. Cyclicals have done better. The banks just reported good numbers.
So we're not necessarily defensive. We're just looking for value in this market. We see the valuation gaps between small and mid caps and large caps, for example, between rate sensitive sectors and the rest of the market. So we're encouraged by the market, and especially long-term investors that we serve, we don't want them to step back out. We're just telling
I do agree with that too.
Them to look.
I mean, look at GM today. GM and Philip Morris up 8% at the end of the day, along with a few others here. First Solar up 4% on the day. Maybe that means we should look at Enphase here in a second. Once earnings comes out, we got about 4 minutes till market close. We should if you guys find out how Enphase is doing, let me know. If there's a link that I need to pull up, let me know that too.
For value elsewhere.
Are you playing around any kind of election volatility, or would you be willing to let this all be a push, let the results sort of find themselves and then return and adjust and review the market in the wake of that?
Well, you might get different answers from different people there. Since we are long-term focused, we're reminding our clients that they're in this for the economy and earnings, right? No one person can control the $57 trillion stock market, but we are talking to them because there's a lot of noise and a lot of emotions, and we're telling them to expect some volatility. That wouldn't be a surprise. And
Yep, I agree. Volatility for sure. I mean, there's no way this election is. It sounds like it's going to take 4 days. Plus, I have this crazy theory. I'm just going to throw it out there, and it's probably nuts, right? But I've been listening to Xi Jinping threaten war and tell his army to get ready for war and building for war, and it just seems like the perfect time to invade Taiwan is when we're spending 4 days trying to figure out who the president of the United States is, and the current one is almost dead, and we're fighting with each other. Stupid, crazy theory. Very possible that it's just nuts and that there's no probability of it happening. But man, I could see it happening because China is literally falling apart, in my opinion. And why not divert that anger that's the people are building up towards us and Taiwan? I think it would be crazy for them to do it. I don't think they're well positioned. Just a weird theory of mine.
Just, keep your bar for information low, keep your bar for decision making high.
What's the biggest question you're getting right now?
The election.
I like her.
What's happening around the election, what does it mean for my portfolio? And we just go back to the fact that politics don't matter for your portfolio, but we don't leave it at that because, of course, there's a lot of context to take in there. So we tell everybody what's at stake, and we try to remember their whole financial situation.
All right, Callie, thank you for the update. We appreciate it. Good to see you. Callie Cox from Ritholtz.
I thought she did a great job, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the conversation. This guy's going to talk about Goldman, about how you should still hold NVIDIA, and I do agree with that, but that we're going to move on nonetheless. All right, let me see. Where did I put my note? Oh, no, I lost my note. It's behind a window. Give me 1 second. I'm going to need that note. I think I found it. There we go. All right. So again, earnings. I think I wanted to watch that video because she talked about how she thinks that people have, are too pessimistic earnings. I've showed you a bunch of things recently that argue that earnings are going to be good, so I wanted to show that. Let's go over the commodities and currencies portion of this. Let's actually just look at how we're sitting. We're going to pull up gold. Gold up 1%. I make fun of you guys all the time, but you're actually starting to get some decent numbers. And again, gold is the first mover. It kind of makes sense, man. I don't know why I didn't think about it, but it's like, how could I have missed that gold would run first? I literally, what do I talk about all the time? I talk about the containers in different sectors. The largest containers, the largest market caps tend to move first, right? So it's like, why wouldn't I have thought about that with Bitcoin and gold? There's literally these strong comparisons. Gold's been, a store of value for thousands of years. Why wouldn't I have realized that gold would move first? I should have, right? Like I talk about this stuff all the time. I just didn't put it in this context, which I'm going to do a better job of that in the future, right? Like we always reevaluate, but gold and silver moving first. Let's look at silver. I don't have actual silver on here. I should probably do that. I just have SLB, I think. I'm going to actually see if I can just pull up the currency itself because I don't necessarily like looking at ETFs. You know what I mean? Let's see here. Commodities. Where are you? Let's go back to here. AXUSD, Capital Com. That's probably the biggest. All right, let's go into that. So yeah, crazy numbers on silver today. Oh my God, this mouse is so great. Oh my God, it's so great. Oh, I love it so much. Anyway, but yeah, this is going to be so much better for moving around on the screens all the time, which is great because we spend a lot of time together. But up 3% on the day, just a crazy number. Again, silver being the smaller container that it drips into. And you know what happens after silver? Silver's market might actually be as big as Bitcoin's. Can you guys take a look? Can anybody tell me that? Tell me how large the silver market is versus the Bitcoin market cap. If one of you guys gets time, can you pop that in chat? Because you guys are awesome. But yeah, so I think these fill up and then they're going to spill over into Bitcoin and altcoins. And I think that's exactly what's happening. I should probably be doing an inverse chart between Bitcoin and gold and then also, the total market cap or maybe altcoin market cap and silver. I should be doing that. It probably tells you a massive story and it'll let us know when the breakout's going to happen. So I'll probably be doing that going forward. But let's jump over here. So we want to go back to other things that have been happening. Hong Kong, we've got an inflation rate was a little bit lower. No real signal here, so I won't pull it up. Skip in Germany. Mexico, economic activity actually was a little bit lower than forecast and consensus. So that's not super great. If we look at the chart over here, what do we see for a trend? we kind of see, if we go to the 10-year, that's probably a better one to look at. We see a downward trend in economic activity for Mexico. We might see more of that if Trump gets elected and he starts pushing companies to do their manufacturing in the United States. So we might actually see that grow. Canada's PPI, Producer Price Index, year over year, actually was lower than expected. Expected at 1.1. It was negative 0.9. You could definitely see some contraction and a trend that probably started back around the great financial crisis, just pushing this lower and lower and lower over time. Not really great. Europe looks a lot like that too. Raw materials was not good for Canada. I mean, I guess it's good, right? It's deflation. It's deflation. I don't totally know why raw materials are getting so much lower. It looks like crude oil makes up a decent amount of that, canola and a few others. But we know those things were dropping. And again, I think they're going to continue to drop, even though we saw a spike in oil today. If we actually just pop over here, we can see that oil was up 2.42%. But again, we've got this megaphone pattern or this rising, broadening wedge. So it's most likely to execute lower and get us down into the 50s. So I'm not really worried about it. Let's go back over here. Where was I anyway? Let me see here. Yes. Okay. So again, raw material prices going lower. Kind of cool. Now in the United States today, Redbook year over year was 4.6. It went a little bit lower. This is retail sales of the top 8,000, I want to say. Yeah, 9,000 stores that make up 80% of the equivalent of official retail sales. So if we look over here, sure, we are lower. We got a lower than expected number. But if I go back all the way to the 2000s and all the way through up until like the 2018 to 2020 range, up before 2018, really, retail sales are just amazing. And so they were good again, 2018 to 2020. And then we had the pandemic and then they sucked. But they immediately rebounded, turned into the most massive amount of sales in history by a huge percentage. Oscillating away from that move and then slowly went back down. And I think they're finding normalcy in a higher range than we were seeing, something that before at least 2018, something more equivalent to 2018 or 2020. And I like that. I think that's actually a positive for the U.S. So hopefully we see that continue. Today, too, we had Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index, and these numbers were really good. I mean, bad, but good. Bad, good. Does that make sense? So the manufacturing index for October came in at negative 14. That would sound bad, but the forecast and consensus were 20 and 18. So in actuality, it's kind of better. Now, we've been trading down in this range all the way since 2021. I'd like to see us breaking higher, but I also think that's probably what's going to happen because we've traded under zero for just so long, longer and almost deeper. If you compare like the amount of time and the depth, we're not much worse or we're not much better than the great financial crisis in like February of 2009. And we're just comparable to like these time frames and after the dot-com bubble where, this number was weaker for a while we just exported that was like one of the big waves of manufacturing exports over to China. So just fascinating. Again, I think we're coming out of this. And I'm excited about that. And then we look at the Fed shipping index and we get something similar. Even better, actually. So this one was forecast at negative 17. Previous was negative 18. We got negative 8, which is a nice little bounce. And again, from this trend, I think we're going to start breaking up. If I'm right, that's a really good thing. Oh, my stomach's rumbling. The Fed Services Revenues Index was supposed to be negative 2. Its previous was negative 1, and it achieved a 3. So again, services may be kind of leading. You can see this trend that started since, January of 2023. So this data was really good today. And I think markets are like, what is all that about? Why is all of this so good? This doesn't actually make any sense to me. We have not gotten, or did we? Did we get money supply? Oh, we did get money supply. Ooh, hey, they updated it. It was changed to 5 for a while, but I think we actually got the number. Let me just refresh here. Let's zoom out. So again, money supply, it's kind of hard to see here because we contracted for so long, but it's definitely starting to ramp again. And it's harder to see because it's a shorter time frame, but the ramp looks comparable to what we had before, which was pretty steep. And if anything, I would see it maybe expanding. I mean, definitely expanding with what Kamala Harris is talking about doing and what the more likely person to win, Trump, is talking about doing. So I think we'd see more of that. Now, tomorrow we have mortgage-related data. I expect that to suck. We got some Mexican retail sales. We got the Bank of Canada's monetary and interest rate decision. That should be interesting. U.S. Existing home sales. Again, just a lot of our home data and then some other interesting factoids from these other countries. Tomorrow, by the market recap, we'll have economic activity for Argentina. I'm really looking forward to that. And then I don't know when we're getting China foreign direct investment. They keep pushing it out. It's probably really, really bad. So that's probably why they're delaying it. But that's kind of what's coming. Let me look at chat real quick while we're just grinding away here. And again, it looks like the market did finally close. Did we hear anything on end phase? Let me look over at your guys' comments. Gold is 18.53 trillion. That is such a huge market cap. Silver is 2 trillion. And then 1.7 trillion per Grok. Was that for Bitcoin? Or 1.5? That would, I don't even know what Bitcoin is at. What do we have over here? Let me see. Do I have any of these things up? Do I have any market cap related? I don't even know, dude. Patreon. Miners. No, I can't find it. All right. India and China reach a deal on patrolling disputed border. Okay. Cool. Now they just have to fix the border disputes at like 17 other countries. I'm talking. In phase down. Okay. All right. Let's see what we got here. Hopefully the flow is working better, guys. I'm going to try it. So I'm going to look through comments here real quick. Hopefully the flow is going better. I think by kind of orchestrating this in a different way. Again, let me shorten this real quick too, since we've already kind of done some of this. Okay, so that's where we're at. I like the way, I'm going to do it this way from now on. My prediction will kind of, hopefully, I'll shorten it to kind of match what's already happened. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Anyway, so got a nice little bounce here, but still, again, under the 100 moving average on the daily time frame. We did bounce, or my theory is that we'll go down here and bounce off the 200 moving average, come back up, and then we'll have kind of our big breakout moment. I kind of hope that's what's happening, though, so I don't know if that's me hoping it more or if that's just what's going to happen, but we'll see. I think I'll do this over here. Let's pull this over here. Yeah, kind of like that. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. Again, we've fallen a decent amount since I updated this last. That's a pretty big drop. What does it have us at? It has us up for going up 79% roughly for my next target zone that I think we're in here. And that would put us up to the 390 range. So that's a lot. So again, if I get more options, I'm going to get really excited about that. And that's my plan. All right. In phase, though. You wanted to look at in phase. See what in phase is doing. In phase. I wonder if they just sucked. Oh, no, they look all right. Well, down 7%. So the bounce was earlier. That was the 2%. But now we're down here. You can't quite see it because we're doing a weekly time frame. But so it's down to here, actually. So it's had a pretty steep drop. I kind of like that. Makes me more interested in them than less. But it also, I want to see what their actual earnings look like. Let me see if we can see them over here yet. We might check back into that one later while we jump to other stuff. I do need to get caught up in comments. I want to keep the show moving along. Hey, RJ, what's up, dude? I'm better. My stomach is churning like crazy. I probably feel a little nauseous, but I'm hyped up on vitamin C, and I'm feeling okay, but I think I'm crashing a little bit. We'll see how it goes. Silas Hines, I think this announcement is more about doing Russia a favor in the news cycle than anything. You're probably right, Silas, in regard to China and India finding a normalization, getting past their dispute. That's probably right. All right, I'm going to maybe skip a few more of the comments just for expediting time here. So let me see here. ICAD, please, Jesse, when you have the chance. We'll do that near the end. I've got to figure that out too. I got to figure out stock related ones. Maybe we'll do just separate chart videos like twice a week, like Wednesday and Saturday or something. That way I can look at your guys' charts and get them updated. I got to figure out a flow for that because it just seems like sometimes I don't get time to do it. All right, so let's get back to schedule here. What's our schedule? So we got through, I think, oil, the dollar. Did we do the dollar? We really didn't do the dollar. Let's do that super fast. So the dollar today actually broke higher. And again, I had this line higher. So I had this line at a rejection, maybe at the 105 range. So that's not the end of the world. I do expect the dollar to start breaking down, though. Again, it's on a nice bounce, but I expect it to roll over soon. That is my take. We've got a nice, and I don't know that I have this drawn well. Maybe I can make a copy here. Let me try. Control C. Does that work? What if I paste? Ah, good. Okay. I don't know how to paste in this, but you'll get the gist. So here's kind of what I'm thinking. And let me do another one here. Let me do another one over here, maybe. Another paste. There we go. I wish it would paste where I was at. That would make more sense. So again, if this is kind of like, does this look pretty normal? I mean, would this be normal? It looks normal to me. It looks actually very bullish. If we have a lower high again after this one, this one, this one, this one, and then we had another one over here, at least for this part of the cycle, and these things are usually multi-year, I think this is good. Let's look at other parts of the dollar and just compare them against the yen with the Japanese carry trade. Are we worried about this? We've crept up again. Again, we're getting a little bit closer to a zone where we should worry. I don't think we're going to get there, though. This is probably near the top. Chinese yuan. Now, the Chinese yuan is in a good bounce, and this would be the perfect place for it to bounce. So we'll see if that happens. And this is the yen against, or I should say the dollar against the yuan, and the dollar is winning, just like it is against other currencies around the world. How's it doing against Russia? Russia, actually, the dollar lost strength against it. But again, they've got foreign currency controls in place, but I don't think they can last long. So if I was looking at this, I would really be like, dude, this is, and I should change the color on this just to be a little bit more accurate in what I'm trying to represent. But this is the resistance, and I think we're going to break above it soon. And I think when we do, it's going to show that the dollar is just crushing the ruble, and that's not going to make them happy at all. So, but yeah, so we talked about oil. We talked about the dollar. We did talk about oil. Yeah, we did talk about oil. And again, I think with oil, we're getting ready to see that rollover. And even though we bounced today, I think it's momentary. I think we could go all the way up to 75 and it still have it be momentary and then roll back over. So I'm not remotely worried about oil. And again, the 2-year, and I should pull up the 10-year bond real quickly while we're in here. So the 2-year actually ended up down today. So much talk about it breaking out higher. The 10-year 2-year inversion went up a little bit today, but again, it's as far as uninverted. But I think it's gonna trade around in here for a while. I have not changed my stance on that. I don't plan on it. Put call ratio. Let's just look at it. It looks like again it bounced up today, but I would maybe see it go a little bit higher and then maybe reject down again. And these things again, multi-year patterns could be playing out into 2026. So not too worried about that. All right. Yeah, I think we talked about gold. I need to create some different trade signals on that and put alerts on them so that we know when gold and silver are being flipped by Bitcoin and altcoins. I'm going to play around with that. I think that'll be fun. And then economic data, we covered all that. Redbook, USA, all this other stuff we covered. 10-year, we covered U.S. economic data on the spreadsheet. And I might have a couple over here. So I had some videos I was going to watch. One, we'll probably just watch the beginning of. It's higher tariffs could increase domestic investment in factories, says Barclays' Julian Mitchell. We'll probably watch like maybe 40 seconds of this. It might be less.
Joining us for more is Julian Mitchell, Managing Director at Barclays, covering multi-industry equity research. And we'll just kick that question off to you, Julian. Thanks for your time.
Sammy B said, you're going to do some miner action, bro. Yes, I will. We can talk about miners. I could do a video over the weekend too, if nothing else, trying to get caught up on some of that. I just don't care. A lot of it's noise. I want to see like big picture where they're at. I care about that. So I think I haven't done a weekend recap. I've just been spending a lot of time relaxing. I'm going to try and do more of those. If I can get more organized like I'm trying to do today, then hopefully I'll be able to speed all these up and be able to have better videos, better content, more consistent, and maybe lesser time frame for everybody's sake, including my own. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about miners. But again, for the most part, the only thing you need to know about miners is they're going to go up a lot when Bitcoin goes up, and Bitcoin's getting ready to go up. All right, let's listen to our boy over here, Julian, talk about tariffs.
Rockwell would seem to be a loser if there's tariffs. They do a lot of business and a lot of manufacturing in Mexico.
Yes, hi. It's true that they have a large portion of their manufacturing done in Mexico. On the other hand, when you look at their revenue base, they have about 65% of sales coming from the US. And in the US, domestically, they are the #1 supplier of factory automation equipment. That's devices like logic controllers and drives. And so if you were to see tariffs put on imports, whether from Mexico or higher tariffs on China, what you may see is a lot of conversations in the investment community about possible increases in factory investment domestically. And that, of course, would carry a high degree of automation, most likely, as companies try and keep labor costs low. And that would then play into Rockwell's strength on the revenue line and perhaps allow them to offset headwinds on the cost base.
So because they're good at automating, if we ultimately had to go that direction.
So essentially, what we're going to see if Trump wins is we're going to see more manufacturing maybe flipping from Mexico to the United States, and just other manufacturing from other parts of the world, probably especially China, switching to the United States. And we'll see a lot of automation that will go with that, which should increase efficiencies and also increase margins on top of AI, robotics, everything else. This to me is the perfect storm for incredible wealth generation like people haven't seen in lifetimes. So I don't know. Everybody's bearish. I'm not bearish. But I wanted you guys to see that. Thank you, Julian. And he's from Barclays. Next, interest rates are rising mostly because of higher term premium, says SMBC Nikos Joseph. This is a little bit boring and terminology, probably a decent amount of you will not understand, but I'll try and provide some clarity to it. I just want to make sure that we're putting these things in front of ourselves more and more and more, so that not just me, but you guys get better at understanding bond markets and the like concepts like term premium or term premia. So just, again, a lot of things like the Fed, interest rates, all that stuff. We'll just try and get better at that together. And we're going to do that by putting it more in front of us. So let's listen to this. I'll interject. I think we'll do the full 6 minutes because this is a good one.
Joining us to discuss is Zoe Financial CEO Andres Garcia Amaya and Joe Lavorgna, who is chief economist at SMBC Nikko Securities America. It's great to have you both here.
All right, real quickly, somebody said Enphase is shitting the bed. Well, that's not a good look for anybody. I'm just going to say that. Let's see if we can find it in our tickers up here, our ticker list. Whatever, we'll just add it. I'll keep it over here. And tomorrow I'll have the, it'll probably be incredible punishment for me with almost $1 million in options in Tesla, but I'll put the ticker symbol down in the bottom so we can see that while things are happening. Oh, it's just down to 8.5%. So it's the same as before. Yeah, it doesn't look great for them, but I haven't looked at any of the financials. We'll probably check into them later, okay? Let's get back over here. Got to watch this other video. Not you, but you.
Joe, let me just start with you because I know you share some of.
Oh, and Paul Tudor Jones had an interview that was 26 minutes long, about 25. I wasn't super, I listened to it, but at the beginning he kind of says, he hasn't really been paying much attention to politics. He's very bearish right now with our government deficit. And I understand that, I do. It's a mess. But I don't think he's paying attention to Elon Musk and what Trump's plans are. He doesn't seem to be aware of them. And so I think his view is really just kind of dark and off. He thinks we're heading into an inflationary cycle. I don't in any way think that that's getting ready to happen. In fact, I show you guys daily, just like today, I showed you data that showed prices in Canada for raw materials and producer price across the board going down, right? So I showed you the opposite of what his argument was. So since it wasn't, even though he is my hero and idol in regard to trading and investing, just as far as traders go, he's just a brilliant guy. And he did say to own gold and Bitcoin, and those things I agree with, even though I think gold is getting long in the tooth. I think Bitcoin is what you want to own. But it just wasn't that great of a video. I felt, so I'm not sharing it. So we're doing several other videos that I think provide more value. And that's what I'll try and do every day, is provide that kind of value where it's I've sifted through the garbage and given you the good stuff. But all right, let's go here. Let's listen to Nico.
These concerns and are looking to see rates moving higher on the short end, on the long end, pretty much everywhere. Is that right?
Yeah, well, yes. I mean, in the short term, the bias is going to be for higher yields. Kelly, when the Fed cut 50, as we thought they would, the market tends to sell off because the market starts to discount faster growth, and we've had much stronger numbers. And about 70% of the move we've seen in yields from where we were when the Fed cut to now has been in higher real yields, which is reflected in the term premium. That is partly a function of better numbers, which we could talk about why we're getting the better numbers. I don't, with all due respect to Mr. Jones, Paul Tudor Jones is a great trader. I do not subscribe to his view that, you got to sell everything and the fixed income market isn't where you're supposed to be, because as bad as
Yeah, I actually don't think fixed income is great right now. I think you could wait months before you start putting money into it as a vessel, as a hedge. But again, I'm not pro-inflation like like Paul Tudor Jones is right now. I don't think that's what's happening. So I do agree with him. There's nuances. There's everybody disagrees with each other. I'm just trying to find the closest version of the truth, combining a bunch of different theories. So
Our U.S. fiscal finances are. If you look at Europe, you're seeing yields there significantly below where the U.S. is, with much worse long-term budget fundamentals.
Right, but so what is your argument that you would own parts of the U.S.?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, I think we can.
yeah, own some, but own it later. Own it later after we get confirmation that we're going to have a president that's going to try and do something to limit government spending. Again, if we're not spending hundreds of billion on war every year, that would be a good start. Extra, I should say, on war. If we can lower the interest on our debt, which I think that's going to happen too. I can go into more about why I think that later. But if we're gonna lower all these expenses and get it to where we're pro growth at the same time, and that's also a different opinion from Paul Tudor Jones. You can listen to his. I just don't agree with it. But again, I do agree. I do agree with him on a lot of stuff.
We could, depending on who's in office and what the policies look like, we could get rates moving back toward 5%. I don't think we'd meaningfully go above there. Interest rate differentials with Europe would be much too wide. And of course, as yields moved up toward 5%, investment grade corporates, which would provide a very attractive, compelling return versus equities, would move up to 6%. The equity market would correct. And then we'd undo any policies that were pushing us sustainably toward 5%.
I mean, in fairness, corporate credit is doing wonderfully. I mean, I think spreads are tighter now than at any point in almost the past 17 or 20 years. And maybe the spread with Europe is deserved because Germany's in recession, basically. So, I mean, there's...
Yeah, I'm talking...
Germany sucks, but they can even come out of the malaise a little bit. But they're going to suffer a lot more because of their connections with China. Something that's been beneficial to them for years. Well, I mean, they've been a succubus. China's been a succubus the whole time, just like with us. Not the people, just the CCP. But yeah, they've been struggling. They're gonna hurt. Europe's gonna hurt in the future, really, really badly, because they're so intertwined with China, and people just don't realize how bad China is.
And Kelly, on the 10 years. So I'm talking
Right.
10 years, where the spreads there would imply they'd be.
And also, I think the reason people don't, sorry for interrupting again, I think the reason people don't understand how bad China is, A, I haven't done a good job putting out a video, so that doesn't help. But B, there's so many people. I mean, like the property sector has probably actually been failing for 5 to 7 years, like probably 7 years from when it started, right? When projects started to get abandoned en masse in cities all around the country. So people just didn't realize with the timing of how long it takes for them to fail. But it's been 7 years, and they've been coasting along. And after the pandemic, they got helped a lot. But that's coming to an end. It's coming to an end like in the next year or two, without us doing really well. And like by us, I mean the rest of the world. Unless we do really well. If we do really well, like let's say AI takes off, we start cutting back on budgets. We're sustainable. We're not printing a bunch of money. We're buying a bunch of goods from other parts of the world, including China, and we can kind of help China through their malaise and get them, to a better place without war. Then that could change the game. But I don't know what the likely scenarios are. Anyway, back to the bond talks. Sorry for ranting off on a side topic.
Be much wider. And I'm saying that doesn't make any sense if U.S. yields were moved up to 5 or say 6%, given the spreads, say Greece and Portugal, Italy, where they'd be 200, 300, 400 basis points. The dollar would massively rally, and that would abate any inflation pressure in the system.
Andres, you're not as concerned, I think, about what's going on with the financial system overall. I mean, you're pretty sanguine and see a lot of positive things that have been driving us to these levels. So you could buy stocks, you think, here? What's your kind of formula?
Yeah, one thing in the Treasury market that's important to note is that it's also different to buy a Treasury bond that has 4% yield versus maybe when it was at 2%. Like there is some protection that you are getting a 4% coupon, right, versus when it was 2. So there's a little bit more protection even if it goes up a little bit higher from where it is now. When it comes to
Yeah, you do have that, but it's required that they actually be able to pay you back. And I don't know, I think people are worried about that right now. So again, if we get a president that starts pushing towards sustainable government and less and at least slowing the rate of spending dramatically and trying to get us closer to being balanced in some way, again, you could use Bitcoin, you could use other things to fix problems societally, at least from an economic standpoint. But if the markets see that happening, I think they're going to be more positive. But this guy, I don't know. We'll see.
stocks, my view is
McDonald's.
that just because we're
McDonald's is crashing. Oh, that'll be fun heading into tomorrow. C-list, China growth enabled many European economies to defer having to modernize and innovate. And it allowed them to spend recklessly, too, just like the United States, right? So it just allowed everybody to get drunk for a long time. Let me know if you guys figure out why McDonald's is crashing. If it's earnings related, too. We could try and look at that stock in a little bit. Let's finish this, though.
all-time highs doesn't mean that it should sell off, right? Especially if your time horizon is 5-10 years out. I think there's actually a fair amount to be optimistic about why the market is going up high. One, it's earnings. Earnings are delivering. The other one is, which often gets talked about, is the Fed is cutting. The economy is not in a recession. It doesn't seem to be heading into a recession. And that's a pretty good recipe for the markets to continue to move up high.
Even though valuations, this was the argument from Goldman's Costin this week, saying we should only expect 3%, average returns over the next decade.
Right. I think valuations start to become a very good indicator of what to do when they're at extremes, right? And yes, they're above historical averages right now, but it's not in that red mark of maybe where 2000, was saying, hey, this is now time to really consider valuation. And I think that note also implied that it was still going to go up for 12 months, but then eventually go down. For someone that's looking to invest 5-10 years out, rebalancing would kind of take care of that in itself.
So it almost sounds like both of you think there could be a good entry point here for the 10-year with yields where they are. You don't think, so you'd be comfortable owning it, Andres, at this, roughly at this level?
I would say that I understand why there are concerns that there's upward pressure to yields. It's just a question of, is that upward pressure more than the 4% that you're getting on the coupon?
And I don't think it is.
And from that perspective, I'm not as concerned as I was before when it was with a 3 handle or a 2 handle.
Joe, do we need better?
Agreed. It's a great price. Like if you're getting 4, guys, that's a great number. This is why I think we're at the bottom too for what's happening with most of the bond market, and why I believe that real estate interest rates are going to go down here soon too. Let us finish his thought. I know somebody else had a question up here, Rashab or somebody. I'll try and get to that.
Or talk or.
Yeah, no, bacon emoji. He was talking about yield generated from cryptos and what I think about it. So I'll talk about it. Give me 1 second.
Indications from either potential new administration on what they're going to do with the deficit and the debt. Would that help kind of tame the rise in long end yields, or at least kind of leave us with the good factors pushing it up?
Yes, people want to know that debt is sustainable.
Up and not the bad ones?
We're nowhere near sustainable right now. We want confirmation that we're going to get there eventually, or try.
It's possible, Kelly, and also
Possible.
I'm probably a bit less sanguine on the economy than others, even though growth has been better than expected. A lot of that has been deficit fueled. And I think at some point the incremental.
I mean, that is fair, right? There's definitely been deficit fuel since the pandemic, and there's going to continue to be if this guy's been watching the 2 presidential candidates.
Dollar the government spending in terms of how it generates growth is going to dissipate. So I do think the economy will soften. And with that, Kelly, it should take down inflation expectations and should ultimately bring 10-year yields back down to 4%, which is basically where we see fair value.
Yeah, I see 3.5 to 4, but I think he's right about this. I mean, I think we will see a little bit of cooling, at least for a period. If we can see cooling with optimistic about our future, because of pro-growth policies, lower taxation, all that stuff, then I think we're going to be doing really good.
If yields were to move up substantially further from here, it would be a buying opportunity.
All right, Andres, what about gold and Bitcoin as have been outperforming, and you heard the case again from Tudor Jones this morning?
Yeah, well, one, that does indicate that part of the reason yields are rising is not just economic growth, being resilient. There are concerns about inflation, and gold usually is a pretty good proxy for that. Gold tends to be very much a momentum play. So it's one of those that, from where I sit, I don't know how to evaluate that outside of it's been doing really well, and I don't want to get in front of that, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend or have a very strong opinion about it.
Joe, a parting.
I agree with that. I think gold is kind of near its top. I wish I would have been smarter. Why didn't you guys tell me that gold was going to run first? You guys have to do your part too, okay? It's not all on me. All right, let's keep going.
Word on that? What do you think is behind the rise of both of these lately?
The goal to me, it could be partly inflation, although inflation expectations are pretty anchored. I think what's happening is you've got a diversification of central banks away from dollars, and they're increasing their gold holdings. And I think that's been a primary factor pushing gold high.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, there's a flight to gold. Yes, I would agree. People are buying gold. These big central banks like China and Russia and I think India, just because Indians love gold, man. Have you ever seen like an Indian rap video or something, or like a Bollywood film? There's gold everywhere. But yeah, so we're seeing that. It's definitely a flight to safety for them, but it's almost done because it's nice and bloated. It's nice and fat. It's ready to spill over into Bitcoin and crypto because they're the smaller containers, much smaller.
Higher.
That's been going on for quite some time, though. We have seen inflation
That's been
expectations
going on
off
for
the
some time.
lows.
Yep. Yep. Well, I think also too. I mean, the thing is the situation, the de-dollarization.
I think Kamala actually. I saw something worked at McDoodles. I think it was. I don't know if you guys ever saw like I think it was Coming to America or something. No, it was one of those. Yeah, maybe that was it. I don't remember anymore. It's been so long. But with Eddie Murphy. So I think that's where she worked. I don't actually think it was McDonald's. I think Trump actually spent 15 minutes longer working at McDonald's than she ever did. Isn't that funny? She made up her grandmother too in her autobiography. Did you guys know that? She has a picture of a black lady that was not her grandmother because her grandmother died before she was born. But she has that picture in her biography. Isn't that fascinating?
Possibly within the BRICS and things of that sort. And central banks wanting to diversify away from dollars and perhaps treasuries is a factor. I don't know if that's as much as an inflation story as perhaps, Kelly, a geopolitical.
McDowell's. Thank you, Rocky.
Political story, but I think that's certainly a reason. And gold, I think, can rally, and real interest rates sometimes can fall. They don't have to move together. So again, I don't think it's necessarily an inflation story.
Yeah, a lot of different things happening this cycle than we've seen.
I actually ended up agreeing with him a decent amount. It was a good dialogue. I appreciate it. Now let's see. So I don't know where the conversation went. I lost it. Oh, but my scroll works so fucking good. Sorry, I'm excited over here. It came from a bacon. Yeah, okay. Here we go. Jesse, what's your thoughts on highish APY percentage yield on high cap PO stake crypto chains, like basically just earning yield on shit coins? Like you said, Solana in the year with a 7 to 9% yield on top of rising stock type asset. Not that crazy though, like 20% APY Luna stuff. Yeah, that was nuts. That didn't turn out very good. I actually did a bet on Luna. I thought they were going to be able to bring it out of its death loop, but that was bad math on my part. So Luna didn't turn out very good, unfortunately. But that was just fun. I threw like 15 grand at it. I didn't actually, like, I owned a very small amount of it before. It was a very tiny thing in my portfolio. I didn't get a tattoo of it. Let's just put it that way, like some people. But which one was that too? It was some VC guy. I can't remember which one it was. But anyway, yeah, he was a Democrat. I remember that. All right, let's move on. But yeah, let me answer your question. So the yields, I think they're okay. I also I have it like a tokenomics thesis, right? It's like if you're printing a yield, that can be helpful. There's people that like that. But also, too, you're creating new money supply, so you're kind of slowing down your ability to pump. So the pumps probably aren't going to be as violent or as high as illiquid shit coins, right? Ones that are illiquid are just going to explode, and you can make a lot of money off of them. So I don't know. I think that I own Solana and I'm staking it. I'm probably getting like only 3 or 4% because I do it through Coinbase, whatever they offer. But I'm doing that because it's like, why not get the yield? Now I'll pull them out. Probably like by spring, maybe summer. I'll be out of that stuff. But for now, I'll enjoy it. And I think, again, it's beneficial as long as you're not screwing around with like stupid ones. I think Solana and Near are probably pretty decent. And I do it with Atom too and a few others. So I'm not against it. I don't mind generating yield. I just, Luna was, really bad code. And there were people, I warned people. And Chris, I don't know if you were around that time, Chris Federal, but I warned people to stay away from Luna, and I showed them videos of people and conversations that were happening on social media of people being like, no, dude, this code is completely broken. And these people are like brilliant. They're like cypherpunk brilliant type people, right? I don't remember if Adam Beck was one of them, but they're really, really smart people. And they were just saying like, hey, this is broken. Here's why it's broken. You need to get out. This thing can literally death spiral. And then what happened? Like 6 months later, it death spiraled. And they were 100% right on the math. I think, you know what? Lynn Alden might have been one of them too. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look. It's been a long time, but yeah. So I just wish I would have thought about that back then. But you can't win them all. Render, hey, thanks for joining, man. Render OG. He keeps talking to me about Render. He's trying to get me into Render. I'm actually going to be playing a video about them in a second. So on that note, I better get back on point. So let's see, U.S. economics. So we got through the videos. Also, in one of the videos, Paul Tudor Jones, or no, it wasn't him, somebody else. There's another post I have where I think it's Kobayashi letter, where he was saying like, oh, it's completely flipped, and now like the market's pricing in no rate cuts for the rest of the year. That is just not true. That's just not true. November 7th, 2024, we have a 91% chance of another 25 bips. December 2024, we have a 68.3% chance of another 25 bips. And then January 2025, we have a 46.7. So at the very long end of this, it used to be like that on March, but now it's on January. So now we're looking at like 3 cuts, 75. That's more accurate statement than what he was talking about earlier. So let's just move on here. So we got another. All right. Oh, and this is the one I was talking about. So Kobayashi letter. He said, all of a sudden, let me just read this. He's talking about how it was a mistake. But yeah, Kobayashi letter, all of a sudden we have rising inflation with falling unemployment. I got to adjust this a little bit better. 50 bip rate cuts have been priced out for the remainder of the 2024. In fact, markets now see 33% chance of at least one meeting without an interest rate cut this year. The Fed's 50 BPS cut was a mistake, and I just completely disagree with that. I don't think it was a mistake at all. And I think they're right on track. I think that we're going to see bond market stabilize. I think we're going to see the real estate rate stabilize. I think all these things are going to come back, and this isn't going to be a problem. Another fun bear, QE Infinity, said the 10-year bond yield is soaring today, and it's taking down stocks down with it, closing in on 4.2%. As the Fed lost control of the bond market, the jumbo rate cut was a disaster, huge policy error. So, like, again, this is the narrative from the bears that everything is falling apart. I actually do want to look at the 10-year real quick and give you my thoughts on it. And TLT, we'll look at that too. So, actually, on I'm sorry, this is not the 10-year. Let me save this one the right way. All right, let me save that. So the 10-year, I actually think this is topping right up here, and we're getting ready to break down. And we've had some bearish divergence that's been going on since like September of 2022 down here. So if you look, it like wants to go down, right? This is what it wants to do. But at the same time, if you draw over here, what have we been doing? I mean, we've been doing this, right? We're going up over the same time that this thing is saying you should fall. And I think the bearish divergence is getting strong enough, and you can see some on the MACD too, that what we'll see is this thing starting to roll over. This is when it makes sense for it to roll over. And so this is when it will roll over, in my opinion. And maybe what we looked at before was something like this. Like this is the line that we were doing, kind of. If you just measure this time frame and don't go back to here, otherwise it's even steeper. But my whole point, and maybe that's a better way to draw it. So my whole point is this is what we've done in this time frame. This is what it has wanted to do since 2022. So I think we're done here on the 10-year bond, not just because of this, but also, again, just the actual fundamentals behind it. And let's pull up TLT real quick, too, while we're in here. Let's look at the 20-year bond, okay? And the 20-year, I think, actually has bottomed. I think this one has bottomed. And again, we'll know that it's bottomed when Donald Trump gets elected, because then it's definitely bottomed, right? So if that happens and he actually wins 4 days after the election, then we'll be good. We'll be good, and we'll know that we hit the bottom. Otherwise, it can go lower. I've kind of drawn some paths here for what we could do. I've drawn a path that shows that we could break down and create a W bottom, or what would end up happening if that does not happen is something like this here, where we cut up and then we go up. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's keep going here, though. I think we're done with all of that. So let's get back over here. Get back over to our U.S. economic. And again, this is a lot of data I'm kind of pushing through all at once. It's a lot, but I'm going to try and be efficient at it. Global markets, investors, this is one of the craziest years in the markets in decades. And you know what? I don't even want to read all this. So we're just going to do this.
This is one of the craziest years in the markets in decades. 1. The S&P 500 is up 22% year to date, having the best performance in 27 years and hitting 47 all-time highs this year. 2. Gold is up 32% and is on track for the best year in 45 years. 3. Silver has rallied 42% to its highest level in 12 years and is having its 5th best year this century. 4. Oil is crashing like a global recession is coming. 5. Utilities stocks are having one of the best years this century. 6. Global central banks are cutting rates as if a global recession is already here. 7. U.S. public debt is skyrocketing as if there is a financial crisis or a war. 8. VIX and MOVE indexes. Volatility of stocks and bonds are trading like something bad is cooking in the markets. What is
happening here? So there's a lot of points. Let's look at it. The S&P's up. Best performance in 27 years. Well, yeah, that's true. That's true. But maybe we should actually look at like how it's done. How is it done over time here? Let's see. Oh, so like over here, again, where we are now, it's definitely taken off, right? But we did have a period from, it looks like, let's go back over here, from November of 2021 all the way to January of 2024. So pretty big time frames, right? We had just a down to sideways market, and now we're breaking up. So this isn't that abnormal when you have that kind of oscillation. And again, my price target on the S&P is much higher. Like it's in the sixes, man. Like I'm 6,400 or more, in the coming year. I'm like 6,400 or more, 64, 66. That's my target. Anyway, so that's one of his points. So I think that's normal. Gold is up 32% and it's on track. Well, yeah, that's true. Yep, gold is up. It's definitely done really well. But again, what did it do? It traded sideways for how many years? September of 2011 all the way to 2024. So for over 13 years, this thing traded sideways. So yeah, it's going up. It's going up. But if you look over here, it could do that for a very long time. It could do that for years. It could do that for a decade. And with money printing, it's probably going to. So what's your point? Silver rallied. Well, same thing. Oil is crashing like a global recession is occurring. Oil is crashing because the United States is producing more oil than it ever has in history. And we're pushing away from oil with EVs and other things. There's other reasons why we're pushing away from oil. And a lot of people have been subsidizing oil for a long time. And so we have a surplus. So, and China's slowing down. So of course oil is going to be cheap. China slowing down, though, doesn't mean the end of the world. 5, utility stocks are having one of the best years in the century. Well, they did, but now they're not doing good. They haven't actually done good recently. If we hop over here, let's just look at utilities. Let's look at utilities maybe over the last month. Is that going to be a good time frame? Consumer durables, where are utilities? No, I guess they're good over here. Let's look at the last week. Maybe that'll be more telling. Well, you can kind of see how they're flat. You can see how they're getting flatter. But I think they're going to drop more. I think energy is going to drop. And I think with energy coming down, I think utilities are going to drop. Again, they've had really great quarters. If you go back here, let's go to the year. Like, look at that. Everything has done good. But in utilities, they've done stupid well. If I pull up one of these, for years, they've just been going up. They've been doing really, really well. So that's been the play, right? Like energy and utilities have been crushing it. All right, let's keep going though. But again, I don't know what the point is here. So global central banks are cutting rates. They have to cut rates because they've been overly tight on markets for a long time, over a year and a half. And so they have to cut rates. But with the economy doing well and with them having to cut rates to lower their future debt loads, this is a positive for markets. This means more global liquidity. It means less risk. It's good all across the board. 7, U.S. public debt is skyrocketing as if there's a financial crisis for a war. I mean, that's true. That's what we're trying to fix, right? That's why we're trying to get rates down. That's why we need to slow down on spending. It's why we need to elect real Donald Trump, because that will be a problem in the future if we don't. It's very true. VIX and MOVE indexes, volatility in stocks and bonds, are trading like something bad is cooking in the markets. Is that true? Is that really true? Let's look at the MOVE. Let's look at the VIX. So they are trading up, but we've talked about this before. This is the biggest, like one of the biggest oscillations ever on the MOVE as far as like a wick down. It was very, very powerful. And so we can oscillate up, but I think the path is still down, and I'm going to hold that, okay? I think that's exactly what's going to happen. Let's look at the VIX too. I'd say the VIX actually looks even better than this. It shows this really, really well, the stock volatility index, because we had the largest impulse in history that turned into a wick on the monthly time frame. This is the 2-month, but look at this. This thing was just slammed. And so this actually, like, look at this on the monthly. There's nothing like this in the history of the VIX on the monthly time frame. Nothing even close to what appeared. So and then we oscillated all the way up. We came down. Could we be grinding here a little bit and then break down and then come back up and then break down? Yes, we could do all of that. And it could play out over a very long period of time, but there's no signal here. There's no signal. So what's happening here? I don't know. What's your fucking point? What was your point? What is your point about this post? I don't know. I have no idea. Thank you for that. But there's a lot of people like that. And there's 5,300 people that like this post, 700,000 people. There are so many people on the sidelines right now, you don't even know. All right, Donald Trump's tax plan to exempt 93 million Americans from income taxes. Imagine that. Imagine how beneficial that is for spending. America PAC says America's 248 years old. There are 438 federal agencies. That's nearly 2 agencies created per year over the lifetime of the country. Elon Musk, in one of his recent town halls, said that there shouldn't be 100. So he literally wants to pull a Twitter on the federal government. Imagine that. I said we need DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, headed by Elon Musk, if we want a chance for a better future. This is off Wall Street Silver, showing our interest payments on debts and how they've utterly exploded at a trend that is completely and utterly unsustainable at 1.1 trillion per year, trillions of dollars per year, and growing and growing and growing. We have to fix it. Here, it said, I posted, it will come back down once real Donald Trump is elected. Why? Because people don't like the long end of the curve when debts are unsustainable. But soon Elon Musk will greatly reduce the size of government. And this is from Nick Girelli. He posts mortgage rate spike above to 6.8%. The disconnect between mortgage rates and real estate investors' returns has never been greater, and he's just talking about how bad it is. Well, I would argue that it's actually getting ready to roll over and go back down to the cap rate, and that it's going to get better, and that we're just seeing the peak end of this, okay? Unusual Whale says the 10-year has hit 4.17, up 0.5% since the Federal Reserve lowered rates. Yep, and that shot up mortgages like 6.7, 6.8, but I think that's the cap. And then this says, I put gold as the past, Bitcoin is the future. China made this mistake before when they embraced silver while the West embraced gold. It caused them immense suffering and will do the same again. This is in regard to a post from Cross Border Capital. Did I get a response? I don't think so. Thanks for that, Cross Border Capital, Michael Howell, my hero. Anyway, some context, WOA. It shows gold holdings, BRICS, and friends versus the USA. So you can see how the USA with gold has been flat, but our Bitcoin holdings have been growing like crazy. That's why I made that comment about, I think China's flipping to the silver standard like they were during the times of Mao, and we're flipping towards the Bitcoin standard, and Bitcoin is the one that you want to really focus on being on. Gold is pretty, but it's not divisible. It's not easily transportable. There's all kinds of problems that go along with it. I mean, again, what are you going to do? Like chop off some gold bar to pay somebody when the world comes to an end? It doesn't make any sense. As long as you have some form of computer technology where you can relay, even like Morse code, to each other, you'll be able to use Bitcoin. Some people have miners getting, running and nodes running across the world. You'll be able to use it. So it's very resilient, actually, more so than I think people realize. Much, much better communication medium for money than what gold is. And I just don't think enough people realize that. I think these BRICS nations don't realize this. I think they're going to figure it out later. I love this new mouse. I don't know if you guys can tell. Can you guys tell how much better this is? All right, so U.S. economy, that's that. So let me go back over. We finished that part. Sorry, there's a lot to get caught up on. I'm trying to get organized with all of this. So the next part here is Bitcoin and crypto. Let's go to Bitcoin and crypto. What else we got over here? All right, Bitcoin. Mark Harvey said MicroStrategy has taken on significant debt to acquire BTC, but its leverage ratio or debt BTC holdings is at the lowest point since the company began its Bitcoin treasury strategy. So what he's saying here is even though they've taken on debt, there's not a lot of risk associated with it. If anything, it's becoming less risky over time. As they make a bunch more money, that's going to be true, and you'll just see this number get lower, lower, lower. I think all of that is true. Let's look at Bitcoin real quick while we're in here. And so again, I just think we're back testing. I keep saying this. We're a little bit underneath, or I should say underneath the bar right now. I'd like to see it get above. This is the 3-day time frame. We have 1 day and 4 hours left, so even 4 hours, this one won't print. It would on the daily. If I look at the daily, that's going to look different. We're underneath of it, right? We don't want to stay underneath of it for the second day, or if we can, but we want to be above it the third. So all these things are moving targets. I hope people realize that whenever we're looking at technicals. It's why I focus on what I believe the actual future to be more than looking at pretty charts, even though I do like charts because I think they can tell you a lot. I think the fundamentals are going to matter a lot more, and that's where I'm trying to devote my focus. All right, so MicroStrategy, 0.3% on the day, down 0.63 afterwards. I actually think it's getting ready to rock. If I make a bunch of money on Hood, I might put more into maybe MSTU. I might buy MSTU. We'll see. We'll see. All right, keep going. Mara. Mara's bouncing pretty good. It was up 1.4%, only down 0.3 in after hours. This has really had a nice bounce. I was telling you to buy down here. My buddy Jake does really good charts too. He was saying the same thing. Should have listened. CleanSpark. Again, I think CleanSpark is great. I think it's been violently breaking out to the upside, and I think the fact that it was down 3.62% today and 0.25% in after hours really means nothing because this thing is just a rocket ship to the moon. So I love that. Let's keep going along here. Cypher up 2.23, and what did the rest of them look like? Let's just look over here. Well, I got to create more of these. I'm going to, I promise. Just got a lot of stuff I'm trying to work on, guys. I need to incorporate too. TerraWolf up 5%, 5.15%. Cypher up 2.2 or 1.3. HUD up 2.15. Mara, Riot up 1.185. All this was really good. Iron and CleanSpark took it the most. It was a bad day for them. That's just the way it works sometimes. It's going to get better in the future. Not worried about it. Oh, that was one too many here. Too far along. I can't believe how long this is taking, but I feel like I'm being more efficient with my time. It's really weird. Bitcoin Magazine just in, 806 billion. Bernstein sees Bitcoin breaking out above 70,000 as sentiment screams risk on. I agree. Dennis Porter said $1 million Bitcoin is only the beginning. I agree. The Bitcoin cycle is different. A massive supply shock is coming. I do agree with this too. Again, you've got a supply shock from Bitcoin because you've got less on reserves, right? Exchange balances total has been lowering. And then as far as reserves have been dropping too. Another metric on crypto quant, slightly different nuance, but they've all been dropping. And so this is good. It just means that with the massive amount of demand, you're just going to have a really bullish cycle. Just in, billionaire hedge fund manager Paul Tudor Jones says all roads lead to inflation. I'm long gold and Bitcoin. Let's just listen to that.
All the things you're saying, are you off buying gold and Bitcoin? And
I think all roads lead to inflation. We're going to end up.
But does all roads lead to inflation, therefore gold is a good investment? Is Bitcoin a good investment to you?
I'm long gold, I'm long Bitcoin. I think
so that's all you need to hear about that. Bitcoin Magazine just in, new voter pack is now airing pro-Bitcoin U.S. Senator Ted Cruz advertisements. I want Texas to be the oasis on the planet for Bitcoin and crypto. So you've got a president, you've got congressmen, you've got governors, you've got all kinds of people, business people all over the world that are very pro-Bitcoin right now. And I think all of this is super positive. I'm just going to play it real quick.
America's financial freedom is under attack, but Texas has a champion in their corner.
I want Texas to be the oasis on planet Earth for Bitcoin and crypto.
Ted Cruz
This is a very Ted Cruz video, by the way. It's very Ted Cruz. Remember when there was an ice storm and Ted Cruz went on vacation? That was so bad.
Ted Cruz will fight to make sure your money is your choice.
Ted Cruz is like, yeah, dude, it's really freaking cold and nothing works here, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to the Bahamas or someplace. It's just not very smart. Anyway, but here's the thing. There's a bunch of money flowing in. It's mostly going to conservatives. Got to ask yourself why. CryptoRank.io, and don't get me wrong, there are younger Democratic congressmen and women that are smarter, and they're pro-Bitcoin. Especially, there's a few guys that come to mind. Solana. So top 15 chains by 30-day DEX trading. So DEX means decentralized exchange. which just means, again, there's no like major authoritarian control over it. Solana had the most. It beat Ethereum. So it's got more traffic than Ethereum. That's pretty telling. BNB chain next, Base next. That's the Coinbase one, I believe. Arbitrum, that's a layer 2 on Ethereum. I own that one. So I own some Solana, a little bit of Ethereum. I own Arbitrum, I own Polygon, I own Sui, I own Avalanche, Optimism, and I think that's the end in this list. But those, again, you could just see who the big volume coins are. Whoever can get the biggest volume is going to win. That's just how it works for price over the short term. This is another way of saying that. I like the other one better, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this one. And then Vivek said the trend is clear. He's using power law time contours to show us where Bitcoin is heading and where it's been. You just voted for Ted Cruz? I actually kind of like him. When I voted for Biden, I obviously hated Ted Cruz, but because they just demonize him in the media. But I actually kind of like him. Poor Tron says bacon emoji. Yeah, they're kind of screwed, huh? All right, so let's listen to this. Love the music. Love this, actually. Just wait. There's another change. Watch this. This is so cool. Watch this. Watch this. The good stuff's coming. So this is one potential theory of what could be coming, and I don't know. I don't want to believe this theory because I don't want to believe this theory because it's like this time is different. You know what I mean? But it could be. This could be it. This is so beautiful. Watch this. 5 years ahead of support. Look at that. Now again, so look at this one. This is the weird part. This is the weird one to look at. Like this is probably what's happening. Again, I think this time, where do they even have us this cycle? Where do they have us? 250 maybe. I think that's totally real. That would make sense. And then the next cycle, maybe 500,000 to 600,000. Yeah, dude, I get that. I think this is probably one of the most accurate representations of what I expect for each Bitcoin cycle on just so many different mathematical purposes or meanings. You know what I mean? Like there's so many different ones that kind of point to this exact same thing, whether it's technical, fundamental, just looking at math. It's just all very exciting. And again, I think this is what's happening. Trend Spider, pretty straightforward setup here on Bitcoin. Turn all-time high trend zone resistance into new support, or bearish can creep back into the picture. This is exactly what we're doing. This says 67,512, and it shows the two-layered version of support, which is good to look at. I usually only draw one. Maybe I should do that in the future. I don't know. But again, if we look at Bitcoin right now, we can see that we're actually still right around the level. So even though I have this drawn in one band, technically if you do a two-band view of it, which I should probably do in the future, we're actually doing better. So, all right, let's keep going. There's so much in here. I got so much content. I'm going to have to shorten this up or make separate videos. BlackRock bought 320 or 32 million in Bitcoin for ETFs. I'll just do some of this in the morning and some at night. I'm doing an entire day's worth of information in one show, so it's a lot, guys. So this is great. This is a ton of money. Elon Musk, listen to this. He's talking about crypto.
I do.
He's probably talking about Bitcoin mostly, but he's looking at it in other ways of crypto and just this lack of centralized control.
I do think that cryptocurrency is an interesting and probably valuable bulwark against a centralized control. I do think crypto, by its very nature, helps with individual freedom.
I totally agree. Trump is going on Joe Rogan. What was the other show that you guys were talking about earlier too? Theo Von. Did you say JD Vance is going on there? I'm going to have to do some political videos because I've got to watch that stuff. That sounds exciting. Dennis Porter, I'm convinced this Bitcoin bull run will rank in the top 3, maybe biggest of all time. I agree with that, actually. It helps that there's not many. But I think he's forward-looking, too, and he's saying, like, guys, this is literally, like, we could perform. The way I look at this is we can outperform what last cycle with all the multipliers we have this cycle. Lynn Alden said, you're not really supposed to say the quiet part out loud. I would disagree. This is exactly what I was thinking they should do. Let's listen to this real quick. Yeah, actually, we'll listen to this one. This is Tour Demester. Demeister? Demeister. I always say that wrong. I want you to hear this.
1. This new paper is a true declaration of war. The ECB claims that early Bitcoin adopters steal economic value from latecomers. I strongly believe authorities will use this Luddite argument to enact harsh taxes or bans. Check for why.
Now, I believe that Kamala will do that. I think Kamala will do that. Let's be clear about who we're talking about. And then this says Minneapolis Fed joins ECB with Bitcoin attack. New paper claims government can run permanent deficits if consumers don't notice and adopt new money like Bitcoin. I mean, he's not wrong. That's my whole fucking point. That's been my thesis. I've been talking about this for years. While the dollar dies, the government can be ridiculous. And as long as they endorse and advocate for Bitcoin and your entire society is getting rich off of it, like building ETFs for it, then you can dilute money away and have the value get stored in Bitcoin and print and print and print and still keep the system alive. This is what all the hardcore Bitcoiners are getting wrong. This is the game plan, and it's the game plan because it's going to work. It's going to work. And if it works, it will allow the dollar to die more slowly, no matter how bad we are with the money printer, while enriching people through Bitcoin. It just means everybody will have to own it, everybody on Earth. So maybe the schedule for Bitcoin that we have in our minds is not big enough. Woo. Vivek said SEC just approved New York. This is a few days ago. New York Stock Exchange and CBOE options trading on spot Bitcoin ETF. There's trillions incoming. I agree. We're seeing ETF massive inflows. We're seeing charts that want to explode higher and go into the 170, 180s. Maybe the 250s, maybe the 280s if things get crazy. But that's the Bitcoin part. Let me get caught up here with notes. Sorry. I'm trying to figure out my organization. This is 5 hours of content I'm trying to cram into one video, and we're an hour and a half in. So I apologize, but I'm trying to get a lot in at once, guys. Also, Solana outperforming today. I don't know if I spoke about that much, but if we actually pull up, let me see, we'll pull up the heat map, and I think there's one for crypto. Is there one for crypto? Let me go back here. I'll just click on the main menu. Let me see what we got. Crypto. Is there a heat map? Community ideas. I don't know. Where do they keep it? I could just, you know what? I'll do this. This is easier. Trading. View. Sorry, I got caps on. And what? Crypto. Heat. Oh, that's what I should do maybe. Yeah, okay. What? Damn you. Crypto. Heat. Map. Trading. Ah, is that it? There we go. Got to get better at this. So Solana actually doing really well. Again, a few other coins too. Like there's other coins doing well here, but outperforming Ethereum and Bitcoin, and I think that's notable. So, all right, AI. So we're going to talk about AI. My God, I've got so much content. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to get through a lot here. This is, nope, don't want to get there yet. Let's see, geopolitics. We're not there yet. ARGT, China, NVIDIA, AI. Okay, here we go. So I want you guys to hear this one. This is for this. I know who's going to be happy in here. I know who's going to be happy in this group. It's Render OG. It says this is from Machine for Alpha, and it's talking about Render. It's a shitcoin. I have not done a lot of research into this yet. I'm not advocating for it, but it is an interesting conversation. And we got Jensen talking about it, NVIDIA and distributed compute. Who's the only distributed GPU networking alongside of NVIDIA and Apple to scale compute demand. It's Render. Now, when you say alongside, they're investing in this company. That doesn't mean like they're necessarily going to be the product that this company uses all the time. So I think you've got to keep that in mind too. And again, he's talking about a bunch. I don't know if he's just saying other products that are on here. Let me see. Yeah, I don't know what he's talking about there for the bottoms. If they do that too or something, I don't know. But let's listen to what they have to say. It is a good video.
Over 40% of your revenue today is inference. But inference is about ready because of chain of reasoning. Yeah. Right? It's about to go up by 1 billion times. Right, by a million X, by
1 billion times. Inference compute is going to go up by 1 billion times. you definitely want to be invested in that.
That's right.
That's right. That's the part that most people haven't completely internalized. This is that industry we were talking about, Bud. This is the Industrial Revolution.
The way that I see AI going is that you will, certainly for generative media, you're going to go to a lot more inference than training, and that means you can run on much, probably very high-end consumer cards, but like the rumored next NVIDIA consumer card will have 32 gigs. Apple is shipping GPUs with 128 gigabytes of RAM, right, in my MacBook. And so you're going to see a lot more AI workloads that can be done on consumer cards.
Imagine a future where computers interact with us just like humans can.
Hi, my name is Sophie.
I do love this video. This is something from, again, just from Jensen Huang, and I think it's great. I just want you to see it. It's very cool.
And I am a digital human brand ambassador for Unique.
The thought process behind this and how this stuff will work in the future is just really awesome. So again, I'm trying to do more of this. If you guys have other things AI related that are really cool, definitely share them out in the Discord. I'm going to try and get better about getting in there and looking at the topics you guys are talking about. Maybe we should have some channels that are dedicated to like different sectors where we can have broader conversation. I don't know. I got to figure it all out. We could do it together. But thank you for all the information on this too, Render. Breaking: Harris campaign just clarified Kamala actually worked at McDowell's, not McDonald's. I know. I saw that meme. I was talking about that earlier. But let's listen here about the future of a lot of this stuff. It's very cool.
This is the incredible reality of digital humans. Digital humans will revolutionize industries, from customer service,
I agree,
to advertising and gaming.
Yep.
The possibilities for
just think about gaming, guys, when you have AIs that are really intelligent and that can like randomly create personalities, and you can have a game where there's just all these people that are very unique and thoughtful and interact like almost randomly in their thought process with like some story that's been driven behind them, but really kind of being their own conscious little being in these games. It's going to get weird. And then these customer service agents, they'll be more boring in the beginning. But again, they're like, you don't need a real person. You could have somebody who looks just like a person and they could be answering all your questions. And they'll be so much more accurate than a human being that you'll learn to trust them with everything. It's kind of frightening and cool at the same time.
For digital humans are endless. The AIs connect to another generative AI to dynamically animate a lifelike 3D mesh of a face.
Look at that face.
And finally,
look at
AI
that.
models
Look at that.
that reproduce lifelike appearances.
Look at that.
Enabling real-time path-traced subsurface scattering to simulate the way light penetrates the skin, scatters, and exits at various points.
This is the future. Can you guys imagine playing games that are VR where you look at people and they look like that? Can you imagine how weird that is? How Star Trek that is? Let's not go for Skynet yet, Rambler. We're not shooting for Skynet, okay? But I want Star Trek. That's what I'm shooting for. We should definitely avoid Skynet at all costs. So let's support Elon Musk. But this is so cool.
Giving skin its soft and translucent appearance.
Ahmed Mostak, he's the founder and CEO of Stability.ai. Welcome to you. We're also joined by Deirdre Bosa and Steve Kovac.
That guy is freaking brilliant, by the way.
And wait, Deirdre, that does not. Okay, in fairness, Ahmed, we didn't have
Oh my goodness.
These are the AI-generated images.
An conversation between Ahmad and Elon on the future of generative
is
AI.
So cool.
He goes to say, everyone is going to be surprised when all the GPUs are used for media and not LLMs. Shortly after this, he joined the Render board. This is the founder of one of the fastest adopted OpenAI. So that's a huge testament for Render, the world's largest distributed GPU network. Speaking of which, Jensen of NVIDIA, a longtime partner to Render, is also bullish on the future of distributed compute.
Guys, that 3-hour video I was talking to you about, that was so transformational and like painted this future that I just couldn't believe. That was him, and I didn't even know he was affiliated with Render. I'll post that 3-hour video. It's amazing. I gotta say, Render, you're actually getting me really interested in this. We're probably going to be talking about it a lot. If you guys know anything about this project where you can add additional input, I'm going to get this added on the Discord, or somebody harp on me if I don't. I'll try and do it tonight. So if somebody throws it out there, I'll do it. This is interesting. Dennis Nuber said, please share that video because I would love to watch it. Oh my God, it's so good, dude. It just talks about like all the concerns with AI and the beauty of AI and everything that it'll be able to do, and just like the path that we're probably headed down. It is so thoughtful and so brilliant. knowing that that guy is in any way affiliated with this project, to me, makes it more interesting, a lot more interesting.
My sense is that distributed training will have to work,
right?
And my sense is that distributed computing will be invented,
right?
And some form of federated learning.
Yeah, I'm almost done with portfolio allocation, and I should have it done tonight, along with updates on the Discord channel. And I'll post what those updates were on the Discord channel, both on X and on the Discord.
And distributed, asynchronous distributed computing.
It'll basically be like a release. We'll probably do more releases over time. That way we have a record of changes that we made so we can revert back, all that kind of stuff. I used to be in software and project management, so if I have to, I can do better.
Is going to be discovered, and I'm very enthusiastic and very optimistic about that.
Specifically to the relationship with NVIDIA, I mean, I want to point out that before we did the decentralized render network, the person that announced our centralized version of render was Jensen. I was on stage with him at GTC in 2013, and he's like, Otoy's building the Octane Render Cloud at work, right? And he loves what we do, and we have a great relationship with NVIDIA. I'm giving an hour-long talk in a couple of months, my 15th, in a row, 15 years doing this. So we talk to NVIDIA every single week, and they're very aware of what Render is doing, and it's something where I think we're looking at it from two points. Yes, we want to have nodes that have H100s in them for just in case you want to do that kind of high-end training, but it's also really interesting to sort of share with NVIDIA, like, how do you do more work on less GPU compute power? They're working on it. Apple's working on it.
Yeah, I think just on talking about Apple, like, it's interesting to think about, who could really disrupt NVIDIA. You're processing one job at a time, and the bandwidth that you need is pretty low. So you can take a MacBook or a 4090 that's somewhere in the world and send work to it for it to complete, and it can send it back. And
EMA drops a hint that an AI video generator powered by Stable Diffusion is coming to Apple devices, towing the line of NDA constraints.
Damn, dude.
I think that this technology.
You got me so interested in this company. Thank you.
Technology is about to take off because over the next year we're going to take it down from a 2 gigabyte file to a 100 megabyte file, and I think we'll be able to take inference time, the time it takes to make an image, from 1 second to 24 frames a second. So you can generate videos basically live within the next couple of years of anything you can describe.
That's
and
insane.
You'll be able to do that eventually on a mobile phone, but even on a mobile phone, being able to generate an image of anything is a bit insane. We've already got it working on an iPhone, and so we think this technology goes to 1 billion people.
And something I thought that was also interesting is that, Octane, the software, is tailored.
Today, we're going deep into
chipsets in general. And so, do you think it's feasible for devices like, the iPad and MacBooks and iPhones in the future to be nodes on the render network?
Apple's been, a great collaborative partner for years. They've been featured in 4 of their keynotes and all the marketing, in fact, the marketing from the M3 on the Apple webpage, a picture of, the Octane Render app.
And pro rendering apps like Octane will flat out fly.
iOS 18 is going to have, a GPD or generative AI system built in. So it's in Apple's best interest to sort of develop, hardware that can do a lot of the AI processing work. They were one of the first companies to take Stable Diffusion and make sure it was ported and worked correctly. And then there's also interesting things like being able to leverage, 100, 200 million Apple GPUs that are now as advanced as NVIDIA GPUs in the data center on Amazon were.
It's a great video. That's a great video. I'm actually going to, 1 second here. Is it this too? I feel like it's this too, right? All right, I'll just do that. That was great. Thank you so much for that. Also, guys, I threw in the chat that 3-hour video I was talking about. It's right here. It's from Tom Bilyeu, talking with Ahmad, and it says 50. He said 50% of jobs will be displaced, and he's talking. It's just so good, guys. It's so good. And yeah, you got me bullish, bro. I got to do more research, but damn, thank you for bringing this to us. We owe you. Real quickly, I'm going to use the bathroom for a second, and I'm going to play this video for you guys Let me see how long this thing is.
Anthropic unveiling
It's 2 minutes. Should give me plenty of time. See you guys in a second.
a new AI tool that can analyze your computer screen and take over to act on your behalf. The latest in an escalating battle for AI-powered agents that can help automate tasks. Our Deirdre Bose is watching that in today's Tech Check. Good morning, Dee.
Hey, good morning, Carl. So a new race is off. The O1 model from OpenAI earlier this year, now Anthropic's new feature, which it calls computer use, that's giving these models new abilities and users new ways to use AI, potentially putting Google on the back foot, which has been working to catch up and release its own next-generation AI model that can reason and better automate tasks. Now, yesterday, guys, we talked about agents as the next frontier in AI, the enterprise race to put agentic products into their customers' hands. But with computer use from Anthropic, that now lets users use AI to control actions on their computer, like clicking buttons and typing to browse the internet or make calendar appointments. Its model, Claude, can essentially, the company says, carry out actions on the user's behalf.
This is both cool and incredibly frightening. It's very scary. Hey, guys, if you're really enjoying this content, can you do me a favor? Can you guys go to X and just click on the profile for me? And go down here towards this video and then just, you know, put in a comment or something. It gives me a 17.5x multiplier if you comment, like, and again, if you could share too. I want to get our group bigger, like our buddy Render here in the video he just showed us. Isn't that great? Like, shouldn't we get more people in this group that bring awesome content so that I don't have to do as much and so that we can all learn? I think it's great, but I'd really appreciate it if you guys would do that. That would be wonderful. Let's go back to Anthropic.
Even without their consent, so acting like a human collaborator or agent, that word again. Now, as we've come to expect with new AI products, Anthropic says, big disclaimer here, that the technology is still experimental and at times cumbersome and error-prone, but obviously the company thought it worth the risk to be the first, it says, frontier AI model to offer.
Again, this brings up so many security concerns. But you can also see how this would be amazing. But you have to have like some crazy kind of vault that can keep people from being able to hack this, because you could have anything done, guys. You could have anything done by these machines that are working on your behalf. And like what if somebody maliciously programmed one to pull up child porn on your computer? Like, what happens to your life? You know what I mean? Like, there's major concerns here that I think are going to have to be addressed, but it's a very fascinating thought process we will have things like this in the future. Yeah, you've had Render. What is the difference? Render OG, can you tell me what the actual difference is between RNDR and RENDER outside of maybe the network of which that render is held? Like, they're just different chains of render, right? But they're both render. Can somebody confirm that? Interesting view from Mari Party on Sol Strategies. When the stablecoin economy hits 25% adoption, Sol Strategies will be the same he looks at it as MicroStrategy. That's great, but it's just a really high NAV right now. We probably should have that. What's the ticker for Sol Strategies? We should add that. Somebody make a note on Discord. We should add that to the Discord for sure. Let's add Render. Let's add Sol Strategies. Let's add all those things so that we can talk about them more. They migrated to Solana, which is Render. It's on Solana. Okay. Like all shitcoins. Yeah. But it's just two different chains though. But essentially they're the same. They're tokens on two different chains, but they represent the same company. Is that an accurate statement? All right, so let's keep listening here.
Such features in public beta. Now, OpenAI too has adopted that ship now, worry about perfecting later strategy with its newest reasoning model.
I think Ethereum is not doing great. They've got a lot of problems. I really look at James and Marty Party and just the rest of that crew as having an intelligent approach for what's happening with Ethereum. I think first principles is really an awesome way to look at it, and that's why I think Solana is so much better. So I agree.
Even Google is being bolder in releasing new tools. And remember, guys, the first wave of Apple intelligence, that's coming to iPhones next week. And that could be another leap forward for AI agents if it works the way it was marketed months ago. But since it was marketed at WWDC in June, it showed off all of those features. The technology has moved quickly. And Anthropic's announcement today, that's a reminder. And it raises the stakes once again for startups and mega caps alike that are all working on this. Guys, it'll be really interesting to see how this works in practice. We've been promised a lot of this stuff, like calendar appointments. I keep seeing that example from mega caps and startups alike.
I don't really like this lady at all, the announcer on here. What's her name? I do not like her. She always looks snarky and bitchy. But yeah, that was a really good post. That was a really good post. I love that. We're definitely going to have to promote. And thank you for leading me to him. Well, we talked about this one yesterday, so we're moving on. Okay, so that's it for the crypto side. If you guys have more to talk about, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next subject as soon as I can find my notes, which I have hidden inadvertently. All right. So next, AI was going to be energy. I don't really have a lot to talk to about energy, but I do want to add that as a category. So we're going to move past that. I do want to talk about stocks that I follow. I was going to go to Tesla next and save Argentina for before that. Let's see here. Let's actually go back a couple. Oh, yeah, let Tesla next here. So I'm missing a tab. Let me go back 1 second here. We're going to go to Tesla. So this is the stocks we follow part since we skipped energy. All right, so this is investing visuals. I like them. They have this nice little visual chart for what's happening with Tesla. And they said, will Tesla deliver? They have estimates for revenue of $25.7 billion, and the earnings per share, EPS, is 0.6 is what we're looking for. And it just shows a bunch of other metrics. We'll look at this more tomorrow. Don't really need to focus on it now. Sawyer Merritt said that Tesla has secured a new $225 million mega pack contract in Puerto Rico to install 430 megawatts battery energy storage system. The project will allow greater stability and responsiveness in the network in addition to reducing load relays 90%. This is a fundamental step towards the modernization of Puerto Rico's electrical system, says the VP of Corporate Affairs. So this is good, right? This is good stuff. And then we got Chuck Cook. He's going to be showing us a Cybertruck. He's going to be showing us a Cybertruck here. Doing the famous left-hand
Okay, here we go
turn.
again.
And this is a famous turn, guys, because if you look at this graph down here and then what the computer's seeing and then what you're seeing in front of you, this is a crazy road where cars are going by at 50 miles an hour. So if there's a lot of traffic almost all the time, 3 lanes on both sides, and you don't have a lot of wiggle room in the middle. So like if you go, you got to go, and you got no light here. It's a very tough intersection. Let's watch it. This is a Cybertruck running 12.5.5.2. I can't wait to get this update. Hopefully I get it soon.
Second unprotected left-hand turn. And interesting, it kind of had to recage itself. It's a little over the line there, but there's a full NHTSA stop. Another relatively aggressive creep, and we need to wait.
Look at the cars on the left.
Okay.
Look at this. This is intimidating.
It's clear from the right, so if it goes for this small gap, it could work, but I
right
really
after
would
this
rather
car.
wait.
You got to go right after this car.
Okay. I felt the brake release, and then it popped back
Nope.
on, so it decided to wait there. Another small gap, another small gap. These are very small gaps for a Cybertruck to jump into. It really should wait. Don't go. Okay, it popped the brake again. The Model Y stopped popping that brake, so this is a specific behavior to the Cybertruck where I can feel it release the brake and
So yeah, you with this one, you're actually getting the feel of the brake
Start to think
and how
about
the system is working.
going. We've got a lot of traffic
Look at
coming
this.
now.
Dude, can you imagine this road? This guy lives in this road. Wouldn't this be
Just gonna have to
insane?
sit here, and awkwardly, if you look here,
My wife couldn't even handle this. She would lose her mind. It'll be great when this thing is just like perfect, when FSD is just like great and better than a human, which I don't think is far off, maybe a year or two. This thing will be able to manage this so much better than he ever could, and he doesn't even have to be stressed. He'll just be able to let it do it and know that it'll work.
I kind of am across this line, and I'll even show you in the rear camera here. I'm like across the line, just kind of
Look
where
at
I
this.
stopped here. I did kind of initialize the turn in an awkward spot.
He did.
Maybe I should have given a little bit more
So it's gotta
runway,
go to the right
but I've
more?
done that 1,000 times in the Model Y, and it hasn't had any problems.
So we'll see how it does
Okay,
here.
I've got a very small, medium gap here.
Watch,
it's probably
watch.
going to go for this gap on the left, but it needs to go to the right with a good question mark.
So
and
it had
needs
to go-
wait because there's a lot of traffic coming.
To be clear, because of the way he had started this right at the intersection and started it weird, The truck had to be smart enough to go right first and then go left so that it can squeeze into this median and not have its ass sticking out to get hit.
Right.
Look at how good it did.
And a stop. Woo.
Look at how good it did. Look
Gosh,
how
that
little
takes guts.
space you have. Look how little space you have on either side. It did that
I have
perfectly.
to tell you, that takes, that's just the way it is. Okay, there's my repeater, because I can't see back over my right-hand shoulder, so I'm having to exclusively, use this mirror. My foot is right on the brake just in case it creeps. I don't want it to creep any. If you look through the bumper camera, that's how close we are.
They're very
There's
close.
a gap. Go. Commit. Good. Okay, and okay, that was a good decision.
All right, so just very cool. It's very cool seeing how it's doing. Dalton Brewer said, I said to a comment of his, I said, look at it this way. We can totally drop to 200 after earnings or possibly before, but the message is very clear. If that happens, just keep buying Tesla, because this is going to be one of the largest companies on earth within 3 to 5 years. And I go, note, I say this with almost $1 million in 2026 calls. I drew this on my phone. So again, dropping to the 200 and then bouncing back up, and that would be close to a W bottom. It could go even lower. It could go into the 190 range. It's possible. I don't think it has to happen, but it could. All right. So that's a lot about, well, I think there's more actually about Tesla. Let me go back. I know these are long. I feel like I've been talking forever, and I have, because it's been almost 2 hours. But I'll try and roll through the rest of these as quick as I can. Sawyer Merritt showed how many different offers there are for the Model Y and the Model 3 around the world right now. Again, these are great offers. So if you're paying off over a shorter period of time, you can get 0%. Not a bad deal. I think they can make this look good on their balance sheet. The Tesla account said electricity is cheaper than gas. They're not lying. America PAC said that Kamala Harris cackles as she suggests that the U.S. government is looking into Elon Musk for allowing a million. We had Mark Cuban and a bunch of other people, people that actually know law, that said that what Elon Musk is doing is not illegal.
Hi. So Elon Musk is giving away $1 million a day to voters who sign a petition. Do you have concerns about that in the context of law? This was legal framework around elections. And secondly, Reuters.
She looks so not confident whatsoever, and she's even taking questions from Fox, or at least they're broadcasting it here.
Investigation has shown something like 300 cases of political violence already in the run-up to the election. Just address what can be done and what.
That intersection is incredibly dangerous. It's very scary, right, Martin? Right, Matenga? That is insane. That shouldn't even be a thing. I agree.
The federal government can do to push back against that.
Well, on the first point, I think people are looking into that. On the second point...
When you say people, do you mean the U.S. government?
I hear that folks are looking into it just based on the stuff you all are reporting.
What?
So
what an idiot. She's such an idiot. Jamaa says Tesla's ADAS reduces accidents. If you have a Tesla, you should use the ADAS. If you don't have one, you should consider getting one and use the ADAS. Every single thing about auto accidents is terrible, and we now have the technology to reduce accidents dramatically. And so this is just an image, a visual representation of another piece of data point that was out there. It talks about Tesla autopilot safety, and it says miles between accidents, 12-month average. If you look Tesla, basically full self-driving. If you look at a human driver, if you look at the U.S. average on these, an average human driver with a Tesla is better than the U.S. average per NHTSA. So you're already a lot safer there. But look at what's happened with full self-driving. It's basically 10 times better, guys. It's 10 times better than a person driving on their own. That's a really big deal. AG posted this, and I thought it was a really good point. It says the biggest obstacle to EV adoption in Europe. New study released today, October 21st. Said, let me just go down here real quick. Says European countries spend $45 billion in subsidized fossil fuel company cars. Isn't that crazy? What are the worst offenders here? Germany is the worst. Or one of them. Italy's the worst. Germany second. Then France. Then Poland. Then the others come in much lower. So Germany is the place where they had all the solar panels on top of buildings, and they've turned off nuclear reactors, and they're subsidizing gas EVs because they have such a large auto sector. They're trying to do things, and they're trying to fight off China and Tesla at the same time. They're trying to do these things basically to try and keep their economy alive in any way. And it's just sad that, like, it's so Hippocratic that you would see Germany stepping away from nuclear power and pushing for, you know, non-EV related cars and paying for that. It's just stupid. It's stupid and sad, and it shows what a weird position they put themselves into. I think that's it for Tesla. Let's move on here. And I think that's probably going to be the main one I'm talking about today. And so we'll move on from that. So on to China. This will be quick. Oh, no, we don't actually have a lot in China right now. We're going to have more economic data overnight. That's it. So emerging markets, Argentina. President Javier Milei dissolves the AFIP, the IRS. He just got rid of the IRS. The IRS. How is this not bullish for Argentina? You tell me, okay? We got more Argentina data coming again tomorrow if we look over here at the economic stuff, right? And I'll probably, these will be the kind of things where if I get an editor, if you guys know of a good editor, let me know. Somebody who would maybe start really cheap so I don't have to, just so I could see how they do over time. But I would like to break some of these videos up into separate pieces so that people could just like pull up Argentina if they're interested in that, pull up Bitcoin, pull up Tesla, so that they don't have to, you know, look through chapters. It's just really easy for them. And again, grow the channel. But economic activity year over year tomorrow for Argentina. I'm loving that. Let's get back over here. So he dissolved the IRS. It says directors' salaries are reduced by 90%. The salaries of senior authorities, the political staff, are reduced by 45%. The salaries of lower level authorities are reduced by 30%. The number of employees on leave is reduced by 15%. And creates a new, smaller collection agency. So I guess he got rid of the big one and created a really small one where they're going to get paid a lot less. That's probably going to hurt their economy a little bit. I like Elon Musk's approach of not doing everything at once and basically paying people out for a shorter period of time. But honestly, he doesn't have that luxury. His country's a shit show. So it is what it is. All right, let me look at comments here. ARGT, let's go, right? And so it sounds like they got a smaller collection agency, but again, they're reducing the size of government exponentially, and they've got a budget surplus, so it's good stuff. Sela says, Germany is burning low-quality lignite coal. I know, man, they're coal now. Isn't that insane? They're doing a much larger amount of coal. It just dumbfounds me. They removed windmill to strip mine coal last year and perfectly good and they're not using perfectly good nuclear plants. It's just hypocrisy at its worst form. All right, so we're going to jump into other stuff. We're going to do geopolitics real quick. So this is crazy. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world, guys. Major security breach at the Pentagon in the United States of America. Senior staffer who was American but was Iranian-born leaks Israel's Iran strike plans. So that's probably why Israel hasn't struck much, because we've got this person who has literally released this information to Iran to try and ready them for it. You've got U.S. artillery strikes targeted Iran proxies and allied Assad troops in eastern Syria on 6 to 7 days over the past week. So the U.S. is fighting the war in Syria. We're helping fight a war in Ukraine. We're helping supply Israel. And I believe, again, my worry is that that the election is going to be the perfect time for China to strike Taiwan. I hope I'm wrong, but it seems like we're doing too much. Lebanon is tired of Hezbollah being in their country. You can see them beating up a Hezbollah member on here and arresting him. So I think Hezbollah now has been greatly weakened as a force in Lebanon. They don't want to deal with this crap. This is about that leak again. Here's another video. Here's things that you won't see that I want you to see, okay? This is Israel handing out water and food to Gazans, okay? Being kind to them and having the people thank them. These are things that you don't see. The Western media will not show this to you. The Free Palestine people won't show you Israelis being kind to Gazans. They won't show you that. Right? Do you guys ever see this? ever see this? Do you ever see them being kind to people and not hurting them? I think it's important that you see that every once in a while, that you see the truth. You see that the Lebanese people don't want to deal with this bullshit. You see that the Gazans are giving up. The Gazans are giving up. A lot of the terrorists in there are just literally giving up. And we've got a widening war with South Korea now talking about bringing in troops into Ukraine because North Korea. So we literally have a South Korean, North Korean proxy war starting. I think we need to end some wars. Vote real Donald Trump. Open source intel said breaking. Sal al-Hadath channel, citing its sources, reports that officials at the Iranian embassy in Beirut were involved in the assassination attempt of Prime Minister Netanyahu. According to the sources, the Israeli investigation has revealed the Iranian involvement. It goes into a lot more detail. I posted this, but there's Netanyahu's home. You can see it's very militarized and secured, right? UK report, Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed al-Sadani said, Sadani, I think so, announced the assassination of the leader of ISIS in Iraq. The leader of ISIS. So you got Israel pushing back Hezbollah and Lebanon, allowing the Lebanese to take over. You've got the Iraqi prime minister assassinating the head of ISIS. You've got heads of Hezbollah dying all over the place. And you've got the head of Iran right now. Oh, I feel like he's the next target. But I also don't know what was released to the Iranian leadership. So you could see a bank that was affiliated with Hezbollah getting hit in Beirut. Again, the Beiruti people, I don't even know if that's the way you say it, they don't want to deal with this shit. They don't want to deal with this. So that's a lot of what's going on. In Cuba, is anybody talking about Cuba? Do they have power yet? They had 3 days without electricity. Are they back? Do we know? Does anybody know what's going on in Cuba? Seems like a big deal. All right, so we're done with geopolitics, I think. Let's move on. So I've got VP Harris pivots tax focus to billionaires paying their fair share. This is frightening. What is she doing now? She's came up with another thing. Is she going after Elon Musk now? Let's find out.
NBC Generation Lab survey finds that taxes are the second most important issue among Americans between the ages of 18 and 34 when deciding who to vote for. It's been a big focus for both candidates. Vice President Harris.
What, Kyle? I got to look at this. I'm sorry. What did you just say, bro? What did you say? And I might skip the election point this time around, guys. I'll save that for next time. I'm getting a little tired. This has been a long video. It's almost 2 hours. But I want to see what you just said about Tesla. They're getting the ability in Palo Alto to test robotaxis. That would be freaking awesome. What the fuck? The city of Palo... Oh, I'm just going to let it read it. I'm going to let it read it. Oh, because I don't want to.
Breaking. The city of Palo Alto is in discussions with Tesla to turn local streets into a testing ground for the company's newly unveiled cybercab, according to Megan Horrigan-Taylor, the city spokesperson.
Oh, I love
Horrigan-Taylor noted, however, that the California Public Utilities Commission and the California DMV are the regulatory bodies responsible for evaluating and approving the operation.
So they're putting them on blast to make sure that they do it.
Autonomous vehicles in our state. So they would need to approve it first. Nonetheless, this is potentially a positive step forward. Source, paloaltoonline.com/news.
You know you're going to see more stuff like this, guys. You're going to see more stuff like this with Texas for sure. Again, they said they were going to do this stuff. Of course, they're going to move. And now we're going to start hearing about all these positive news events where they're doing the right thing. That's signal, guys. That's a lot of signal right there. I hope you just realized that. All right, let's go back over. Let's listen here. Harris's bullshit tax plan.
Looking at how to tax the wealthiest Americans, and our Megan Cassell is following that story.
Austin Powers voice? Hell yeah. I'll see if I can find it.
This morning. Morning, Megan.
Hey, good morning, Carl.
You know what? Honestly, I think I can. I think I can feed it like an AI. I can feed it a voice like my own. It could be me. It could probably be Austin Powers. I'll have to play around with it.
So that's right. A lot of the focus so far for the Harris campaign has been on a proposal to tax unrealized capital gains. Harris endorsed that a few months ago when she endorsed all of President Biden's pay-fors. But then we saw some pretty intense backlash, and it's been really radio silence on the issue from the campaign ever since, even as close allies like Mark Cuban say it's not going to happen. So campaign surrogates and close Harris advisors tell me now that the VP's focus is on making sure billionaires pay their fair share in taxes. That's the language that she uses on the campaign trail, but that she isn't married to any one proposal. What she's focused on is making sure there's a way to derive at least some revenue from the wealthiest Americans, so 100 millionaires and up, but it doesn't have to be a tax on unrealized gains. They're also not willing to take that off the table, though, when they've yet to find a different option. So as for another option, I'm told now that some of her closest advisors are pushing an alternative, and it's taxing billionaires' borrowing. This is the idea that's been out there a little bit, that you would tax the value of the loan that someone takes out against their own assets as if those assets have been realized. It's sort of like a consumption tax. It's sort of like a down payment on your tax bill because you're not then taxed a second time when your assets actually are realized. It's estimated to raise only about $100 billion over a decade, so it's not a huge moneymaker here, but it does address some of the concerns, especially around liquidity with the unrealized capital gains tax.
So what did I miss? How stupid is our plan?
And it's seen as at least slightly more politically palatable, which is part of why her top advisors are pushing for it now. Guys?
I really don't care what the World Economic Forum projects for Argentina. I can tell you that.
I'm trying to pay attention to Mark Cuban, who I know has been on CNBC and a number of other news outlets on this topic, where it doesn't feel like he's in complete alignment with some of the campaign's views on taxes, like unrealized gains.
I know that one's
This would be so contractionary for our economy. It would be a horrible idea, man.
interesting. He was even out with some pretty strong language saying, if she pushed for this, I would campaign against her. That's how confident he was saying he is that it isn't going to happen. What is interesting is that the campaign...
So why does Mark Cuban campaign for her when she's talking about doing all this stuff? Why is he campaigning for her? He started to backtrack, guys. He even had some dialogue like he would be supportive of Trump and willing to be a part of whatever process, goes on with him too if he gets elected. So he's backtracking, man.
One, they're not pushing back on him at all, but I was trying to figure out why they're not just pulling this off the table and trying to appease some folks, especially big donors, and saying they're not going to do this. And it's that they say, one, they don't think this is an issue that they really need.
Ahmad is one of the most brilliant people on this planet, I think. He's got a vision into the future like he has already seen it. You definitely need to watch that video.
To touch 2 weeks out from the election. They say this isn't going to move any swing voters in Michigan, for example, but they also just don't want to take it off the table when
Silas, I love your comments.
they know they're pretty committed to finding some way to tax the wealthiest Americans, no matter what it is. So they need to find a...
We got to get Elon. We got to get Elon. Okay, so maybe election stuff, I'll keep it short. We've got voters in Texas that were saying that their votes were being changed inside of the booths. We got this. Fox News has announced it expects 4-day delay. I said the only reason they expect this delay is because the governor of Georgia was talking about it, along with some other people. We got Eric Dougherty that says, breaking, Nevada Republicans now lead the early vote with mail-in included. Absolutely unprecedented in a presidential year. We're seeing something I never thought we could see. We're seeing Nevada looking like it could turn red. It actually blows my mind. We've got final Georgia poll data from AGC and UGA. It's not as bullish as Atlas Intel, but it shows a 4-point lead for Trump over Harris in Georgia, which is pretty good. We got breaking. A lawsuit has been filed against Maricopa County to force them to document everything that happens with ballots on or before or after the election night, and also to close a secret fraud loophole that allows election workers to change votes. This is amazing, guys. Like there's really good stuff happening. I'm gonna let him read this out. This is so long. Let me just fire this up.
Breaking. A lawsuit has been filed. It's an uncontested fact that Maricopa County did not maintain proper chain of custody in 2020 and 2022, and also...
This is so crazy. So people are finally starting to understand how bad some of these previous election results were, and we're suing to make sure that it's done properly this time. We're making it harder to cheat. Now, cheating is still possible, but it's being made harder.
Breaking. A lawsuit has been filed against Maricopa County. It's an uncontested fact that Maricopa County did not maintain proper chain of custody in 2020 and 2022, and also violated the federal election records retention law. They even deleted certain data from the voting machines before handing them to the state Senate auditors. This lawsuit serves a greater purpose than thought at face value. By filling this, 1, it invalidates the laches argument after the election because we've established a timely concern, and 2, if the county disputes the facts, then the onus is on them to make zero mistakes, because if they do, a post-election lawsuit will be a slam dunk. The lawsuit also reveals that in 2022, Maricopa County conducted a practice where they took votes that had already been counted and retabulated them at their pleasure. Because of this unlawful practice, it is entirely possible for Maricopa County employees to change the outcomes of elections by swapping out ballots to include votes for their preferred candidates and propositions for or.
And we obviously don't want that. Shale says, surprised to see negative GDP forecast for 2023 to 2024 for Argentina. Are you surprised that the World Economic Forum doesn't like somebody who's even more Trump than Trump? I don't think you should be surprised by that at all. That's no way a reflection of what's happening in Argentina. It's very politically motivated, so I would just ignore it. All right. Again, lots of voters registered in PA, record numbers. Real Clear polling has Trump Vance winning 312 to 226, basically taking like almost every swing state. The Economist has Trump winning. His chance of winning is up by 9% electoral votes. They have 276 to 262, so they're not super optimistic. But again, they flipped. They're flipping a lot more bullish. Everything is just more bullish, guys. It's all more bullish for Trump. It's looking really good. That's pretty much it. That's what I had today. Again, we covered a lot. It's a little over 2 hours, but this was an entire day, guys. So this was the market open and this was the market recap. So I still think a little over 2 hours isn't bad for giving you this much information, and I appreciate all of you guys for being here. If you can comment on the post, I greatly appreciate it. Let me just read through some comments here before we wrap it up. I got to watch podcasts with Ahmad. Yep, you do. Let me see here. Bacon Emoji says, doesn't he have early hands in some Cosmos, SDK, Injective, Cuban? I don't know what you mean. Albert, Silas, pretending. Shale, copy paste, hate it. Silas, add those percentages. Shale, surprised to see negative GP. Oh, I already responded to that. Bacon Emoji, making a voting blockchain. They don't lie. If you used Bitcoin as a place to solidify the results and still had paper ballots and everything, I think you'd have a really great historical reference. Kyle Wright on Atlas Poll, I love how the topics people are the most dissatisfied with the Biden-Harris are the exact ones they trust Trump the most on. Yep, true. Dennis, Amit, just posted on X, Bill Gates donates $50 million to Kamala Harris and endorses her for president. Does that help her in any way? Also, Kamala Harris is outspending Donald Trump about 3 to 4 to 1. And he's still winning. I know Elon Musk mocks her for it. Shale, because they kept buying Bitcoin, bookend tackles may need to make that by retirement country. Bacon Emoji, thanks mate, had fun hanging about. One sat per vote. All right, guys, this is fun. Again, I hope you had a good time. I hope this format worked for you. I'm trying to get more efficient with my time. If we can do so, then maybe we could make the market open an hour and a half, still have just tons of value in it, and then at the same time have like a 1 hour recap or a 1.5 hour recap where we go over stocks as well. Maybe I can get this down to 3.5 hours, and if nothing else, again, shrink up the videos, put them in their own format. I'm going to get to making the chapters now. I'm going to give you some music to listen to though. We're going to head out with our boy Gary Gensler. And just think about this. Think if Trump gets elected, what was one of the first things he's going to do? He's going to fire Gary Gensler. So I think we should be excited about that. Peace out, guys. I love you very much. Have a good day. And if you like this, please make some comments, like the video, comment after the video. Share this out on X. Let people know that this is good and that you like what you're seeing. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you, guys. Bye.
These clowns trying to take us down. What a guy. Wow, what a guy. Wow, what a guy.